would think they're joining from Jupiter. But anyway, we are joining from different parts of the world. This is our second day. For those who are not there yesterday, this is the second day of training organized by the Training Center and Communication of TCC Africa, Research Capacity Building Trust that is domiciled at the University of Nairobi, Chiromo campus. And basically what we do is to train, empower, and support researchers and, research organizations, university, and other institutions in enhancing not only their research output, but also visibility of the organizations, the individual researchers, and the visibility of their work. So yesterday we discussed about proposal writing, and we went through all the process of proposal writing. At the end, we also looked at Dimensions, which is a platform where people can get papers, research papers, data sets, grant information, clinical trials, and so many other things. And we really saw how powerful that tool is. Of course, there were a few areas that we did not exhaust in terms of discussions, because towards the end, there were a few questions that were not really. So today we'll spare a bit of some time at the end to be able to discuss more. For those who are also hearing this voice for the first time, I am Nicholas Outa. I am a research capacity advisor at TCC Africa. I'm also a mentor and also a trainer, basically. So today we are going through scientific writing. So today we are going to write a manuscript for publication. So I want you to put yourself in a place where you wrote a proposal. This proposal was accepted, whether it was an academic proposal or a proposal for funding. So the proposal was accepted and funded. And you went to the field, collected data, analyzed that data, because there is TCC also trains people in data analysis, and this will come at different times. So you will be notified when that training will take place. There will be training in data handling, data management, and analysis. So let's say you have gone ahead now and you've collected data, you've analyzed that data, and now you are at a point where you want to write a manuscript for publication. How do you go around it? I think, of course, I know there are people here with experience, but even with experience, we still, as I said, even yesterday, even in our conversation yesterday, there are a few things here and there that I picked from just the contributions from the members who are also speaking. So even if you've written a paper before, it's still okay that you might end up picking a tip or two from this day, and that could help you, or it could help someone you know. So today we are going to go through manuscript preparation. After that, we are going to, of course, also including journal selection. How do you select the right journal for your paper? We will also go through a bit of submission, what happens during submission. We will also look at after you published your paper. So what? You have published your paper is out there on the internet. What do you do after that? Or how do you handle rejection? Because it's part of the journey. For those who have published papers here, they will tell you. This year alone, I have received 2 rejections so far. Of course, I've worked on them and returned them. But 2 of my papers have been rejected on various grounds. And, that's just to tell you that if you send a paper out there and it's not accepted, don't get deflated. Just know it's part of the journey, and work on it, rework on the paper, and just send it back either to the same journal or to another journal, depending on the reason that was given for rejection. So, and most of the time, these rejections come with very valuable insights that can help. Now, to start us off, I want someone to tell us what their experience has been. Have you published a paper? Has it been easy? What was your experience? Or if you've never published a paper, for example, what are those challenges, so that we know whether at the end of it you shall have, gotten a few. You might not have, you might not become an expert in scientific writing and publication in just this one sitting, but this would add value to what you will what will become of what you know about this. So if you published a paper or you published papers before, Just give us your experience. I'm giving one lady, one gentle lady and one man to give us their experiences. As I said, I don't like pointing out on people, so you just volunteer and say, I want to give my experience. I've never published a paper. This is the feeling, or this is why I've never published a paper, or I have published 75 papers. This has been the experience. Or when I published my first paper, this was the experience. Just to start us off. Anybody? Yes, we start with Godwin.
Doc, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, just like you said, the first time I published was in 2018 when I finished my undergraduate studies, and my thesis was converted to a paper, and so I submitted it to a number of journals. And the first rejection was really disturbing because that was my first time. So getting it rejected was really hard because I was like, so does it mean I'm not able to write a paper, or like, so it really disturbed me for a very long time. And then my supervisor encouraged me that, just work on it based on the comments and then submit to another journal, or if you like, submit it to the same journal. So I just did that reluctantly. Then we submitted it to another. And the comments from the previous journal really improved the quality. And then the next journal, which was even higher, like in terms of level, accepted it without stress. So, and I was really happy. And then subsequently, the other papers, when they rejected it, I was okay because I felt that, this is okay. They are just giving me comments to improve the quality. And I really observed that anytime they give me comments and I work on it and I submit, then it becomes easier for the journals to accept. So the only thing I'll share that is that, like, the rejection is part of it. So when they reject, then you use the comments the reviewers provide. Then you just work on it and you find even a better journal to submit. So that is just a contribution I want to make. And I just wanted to second to what Doc indicated, that the rejection is part of it and you don't have to be worried. Maybe if it's your first time to submit a paper and you'll get rejected, just see it as, they've pointed out areas I should improve to make the whole thing the best for everybody. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Gordon. I think two things have stood out. One is you published a paper at the end of your first degree, which is commendable. Most of us, like, I published my first paper after my master's. My undergraduate project was really not something much. So I think that is one thing that I know there are students here. One of them, I think, was Ndungu, who said she's an undergraduate student. That is one thing to show you. And even at my place of work right now, there are two papers that we are publishing with. We are helping students to publish out of their undergraduate degree projects, fourth-year projects. So it's possible that you can even publish even at the end. If you do a good work, then even an undergraduate project can still be published. So I think, and also the other thing you said is, you've just supported that. It's part of the journey. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying you should really celebrate when there is a rejection, but then sit back with that paper and look at it. Let that not discourage you. Just look at it and say, okay, why did they reject it? They said maybe this needs to be corrected, or I need to do analysis differently, all those things, because most of the time they will reject and they will give you reasons for rejecting. Either it's not within the scope of this journal, or maybe this part has not been written correctly, or you've not addressed the review comments adequately. So just learn through those things. And you need to have somebody, as he said, that he was encouraged by his supervisor. You really need a supportive person. And sometimes we don't have people to walk the journey with us. I want a lady, whether you published or not, there's no problem with that. Just share your experience, whether you have published or you have never. Just share your experience. An experience is an experience anyway. Anybody? Ladies? Yes, Grace.
Good morning, colleagues, and then thank you, Nicholas. So I've published 3 papers so far in peer-reviewed journals, and 1 book chapter and a few white papers. But I'm also working on 3 at the moment. I know one we are jointly writing with you. So my experience so far, my first publication was when I was finishing my master's degree in 2015 at the University of Nairobi School of Computing. So it didn't have a lot of issues because the supervisor I had was very supportive, and actually the choice of the journal was also a strategic one. And it came with a lot of revisions because it took 9 months for the paper to be accepted. So it was a whole phase, and we had to miss the first graduation because of delay in publication. But also it came with a lot of corrections, which upon implementation and revision, the paper was eventually accepted. It was an high impact journal. My second publication came 3 years later, and it had a lot of challenges because the first time I sent my paper out, it got rejected, and it came with major revisions that I had to do because it was a model, it was a prototype, and there were lots of revisions from experts, which upon going through them again, it more comments came through, and then after revising again, it eventually got rejected. So I was advised to go for a lower impact journal, a lower factor impact journal, where immediately I sent it, just came with minor revisions, and it got accepted. So the journey with publication is one that needs patience. That's from my side. It needs patience. It needs consultation and closer engagement of your supervisors or your peer or those you're collaborating with, because sometimes you're writing a paper and you only have a section to contribute to, and there could be some people you're collaborating with who have majors in the other sectors. So it needs you to come together and have a clear plan of discussion and revision, so that at the end of the day, you speak in one language. And then the other part that I also learned is the role that every person, sometimes you might write alone, sometimes you might write with other people. So it's also good to take note of what contribution or what measure the other parties have made. So I'm still writing. I'm an early career researcher, so I'm still in the process of writing, and I'm looking forward to learning more even from today's engagement. So the other thing is money. There are some journal articles that require money. Some are not open access, and they might have the best impact factor, and you'd really wish to publish your journal or your paper with them or your article with them. So I know there are organizations that may fund researchers to help them publish, but most cases you'll have to struggle. So we encourage to go for the open access, the ones that will not charge you anything. But if you have to go for those that will need some money, maybe look for funding or just plan ahead so that you don't have to send your paper. And that I was once a victim where I'd sent a paper until the last phase, had not seen the publication fee close. So it's about to be accepted is when I'm asked to pay, I think around 79,000 Kenyan shillings. And I didn't have that at the moment. So I had to drop the whole dream and move to another journal paper. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think you also brought something to the fore, the fact that you also have to be prepared. Sometimes you have to pay article processing fee, and sometimes it's quite some money. There are projects these days. I am part of a project, at least some 2 projects that we are working on that have allocated money specifically for, these ones are funded by Horizon Europe, and they allocate money. As you write your proposal, you have to put aside some budget for publication, so that you publish in open access, and that's a rule. But then, of course, like for my PhD, I sponsored my PhD by myself. So you can imagine during the publication process, because it's a requirement for you to publish 2 papers. You can imagine now you want to publish, and then the university also has very strict rules on what kind of journals you can publish in, and it's just quite something. But anyway, I think we were just having a discussion so that we get to break the ice. But then, why do you publish papers? This one I'll call out on Moses. Moses, I don't know whether you published or not, but just based on your experience or based on the people you talk to, why do they publish papers? Why is it even necessary to publish a paper? Moses Wankoko.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And I've just joined in, so I don't know where you started from. I was a little bit delayed by traffic. Now, one of the reasons why we publish papers, I've not yet published as an individual, but I've published with other colleagues, is to develop our portfolio as a researcher and within the international, like say, the national scale, so that we are acknowledged or known. And secondly, also to share the kind of work we've done with the world as we build towards the body of knowledge. And then thirdly, we also publish so that we can be able to maybe attract a specific kind of researchers who are working in our field towards something that we like to do together, especially if it's something that is like a beginning of a project that is going to have a great impact or have let's say a kind of an effect on policy or on the livelihoods of people, or change some people's lives in one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. I see Anthony also wants to say something.
Good morning, Doug.
Morning.
I think my senior Moses has said it all, but let me add this one. I think we publish in order to disseminate information and then contribute to body of knowledge.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Josephine?
Thank you for giving me a chance. I think for us working in the university, for you to move from even a lecturer to a senior lecturer, you are required to have published a number of for you to get a promotion. So it's very necessary to publish if you are working in the universities. Thank you.
So it's either you publish or you perish. Anyway, so I think we have had people's experiences, and as I said, today, just like yesterday, we will be discussing. I'm not here to lecture, or I'm not here to, because most of us already have this experience. So we are just here to share our experiences. But then I also have the mandate to also, as I steer, as I midwife the discussion. I also have, the mandate to share some tips here and there. So I will do that, but in between there will be a lot of things to share. So maybe you can type how many papers you published or you participated in publishing just in the chat so that you see. Okay. So maybe one or two. Just type how many papers have you been part of. Even if maybe you've not been the first author, but then maybe you've been part of a publication. So 1, 2, even 0 is a number. But some people think that writing is hard work. And I think part of the explanation has already been alluded to that. Why some people feel that writing is hard. Sometimes the review process is back and forth. Sometimes, you see somebody has 34 papers, 3, 8, 3, yeah. So we see we are at different levels here. So we have different experiences, but people feel like some people feel like writing is very hard, and I think clearly there are some in our discussions, earlier discussions, in our opening discussions, we can imagine why some people find it very difficult to publish. Sometimes it's not even just about the publication fee. Sometimes it's about the review process. Sometimes it's even about other resources or just the knowledge on how to do these things. So some people think it's a bit hard. But if you've never published a paper, then there's no problem. I was just like you. If you've never published, I was just like you until I published this paper. I don't know the feeling I got when I received the link and I opened this paper. I opened the link and now look at the paper. It was, the way you just send a manuscript that is just plain, and then you find something that looks like this when you finally open the paper. I would open and read. I read this paper several times. Just reading, just looking at how nice it looks. So if you've never published a paper and you're here, I would really want to encourage you to be, maybe after this, because I know some of you even have manuscripts you are just keeping somewhere. You are either stranded or you've not really gotten the push to finish and send it out there. No one is coming to your personal computer to read those papers. Send them out. Let them be rejected if they want to reject them, but at least it's out there. Somebody has looked at it, somebody has read through it. You shall have made a step. Okay, so don't worry, I was just like you as a master student until this paper came. Now, the writing stages are very few. I think it's very simple. You get in the mood, you write the first draft, you revise, and then you finish. I think it's very simple. I don't know why people say writing is very hard. Okay? Getting in the mood, you just get in the mood. People have different ways of focusing. So maybe somebody would get in the mood by dancing to music, listening to some songs, or taking a walk just to, refresh their minds, then set it down to start writing, or, taking coffee or some other things. People take some other things that I will not mention for the sake of national unity and cohesion. Some people take other things to get them in the mood for writing, but as I said again, for the sake of civility, I will not mention those things. You know them. But anyway, the whole idea is you just get yourself focused, and in whichever way you get yourself focused, then you write your first draft, then you keep revising until you think, I'm now convinced that this one is a very good draft, and then you finish and send. It's that simple. Yeah. It could sound simple from what I'm saying. Getting in the mood could be easy, but writing the first draft and revising before you finish, yeah, it might not be a straight line. Like I'm trying to make it sound like it's, you just get in the mood, write the first draft, revise, finish. Sounds very easy. That's where they say it's easier said than done. Okay? So that's why we really need to get some of these tips. And I know there are tools that are now coming up and people are using some tools to write and stuff, but then at the end of the day, you still have to know the art of writing. Even if you're going to use a tool, you still need to know the art of writing so that you are sure that whatever is going into this section is what should be in this section. So that even if you use an AI tool or something and it does not give you what really should be there, then because then the other thing is when now you could use a tool, there's no problem. These tools are there to make work easier. But then when the review comments start coming, you realize you cannot run back to the tool. You will have now to reason with what was written, because it's difficult also to completely change these things. You will be told this is now a new manuscript. So these are the things. Like sometimes for early career researchers, when you meet people in normal conversations, you keep sprinkling and you put it in high dosages. Your research topic. Every time people have in every conversation, you keep throwing in your research topic. This is sometimes happens with early career researchers, especially among peers. You're having a conversation, somebody says, yeah, currently by there I'm publishing, there's a paper I'm writing, or there's something we are working on right now with so and so. It feels good, feels nice. But remember, in science, the credit goes to the one who convinces the world, not to the one to whom the idea first occurs. I'll read that again. In science, the credit goes to the one who convinces the world, not to the one to whom the idea first occurs. That is according to Sir Franklin Darwin, or Francis Darwin. He said, the idea could have come to you first, but if I convince the world ahead of you, then the credit will go to me. No, it will not go to you. Nobody will know that it was your idea. So then how do we convince the world? We convince the world by publishing our papers and putting it out there. Before you publish, if you come up with a very good idea and I publish it ahead of you, people will say that was my idea. However much you start making noise and saying, that paper that was published, it was all mine. I came up with the idea. Who cares? Who convinced the world ahead of you? It was me. So don't allow your ideas to just be lying in your computers. Put them out there. Let the world see them. You could be saying, I'm a researcher, I do this, I do that, but then people will ask you, where are the papers? If there are no papers, if there is no evidence of you publishing anything, then your influence as a researcher will still not be there. So this is something you really need to think about. Okay. But then I just want to give a bit of summaries. It's part of what we've talked about. What happens after submission? Because this is part of where the this is part of the most difficult parts of publication. Sometimes not even the writing. You could have written, or you're part of a team that has a bit of experience, so you could have written a very good paper. But then after submission, so this is what happens. The publication procedure could take sometimes even years. I had a paper that was in the process for 2 years. The journal was being changed to another name, and they were changing a lot of things, and they kept telling, they just keep you busy so that they don't lose those papers. So it can take a very long time, and that's why it's a good thing to draw your publication plan early enough in during your research process. Don't wait until you have empirical data to start thinking of where to publish that data. Okay, so as an author, you submit your paper. There is an editor that is assigned to that manuscript. Like currently, I am an academic editor for PLOS One. So what happens is in the section of aquaculture production or areas, if a paper comes that speaks about aquaculture, aquatic science, or aquatic ecology, for example, then it's or wetland management or wetland ecology that is assigned to, let's say, to an editor like me. So then an editor is assigned to the manuscript, then the editor assigns reviewers. So sometimes you look for reviewers, approach them based on their field and tell them, hey, can you review this paper for me? So the reviewers can either decide to review a paper or not. And this is also another challenge. And that's some of the reasons why papers take too long, because you approach reviewers, they tell you they don't have time to look at that paper. You approach another one, they tell you, and then you cannot publish a paper until it is reviewed. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. So reviewers will decide whether to review or not. Then several reviewers, maybe one, two, or mostly two or three, will inspect and edit the paper. Then they decide on the accuracy of revision. So after the reviewers have given their comments, the editor sends back the paper to you. They tell you, hey, these are the editors also, we also give some comments, of course, just general comments about the paper. Then the paper is sent back with the reviews, with the review comments. The paper is sent back to the author or the authors. Then this author addresses these comments, and then the editor will decide on the accuracy. So sometimes after he addresses, the paper is again sent back to the reviewers again to check, is it were your concerns addressed adequately? And then the author revises the paper and sends it back. Then of course there is sometimes the possibility for a second review, or then eventually there's a publication. Okay, so that back and forth takes quite a bit of some time, and that's why it needs to take. You need to start early. But then sometimes, of course, after all this, the end result is a rejection. So, yes, Godwin.
Doctor, thank you. I want you to clarify the difference between the editors and the associate editors.
Yes, sometimes depending on a section, sometimes you find some journals have editors and associate editors, depending on the journal. This is just a name, but some journals will have you have a section. Let's say there is a section called aquaculture, as maybe aquaculture production is as a section in a journal. So the journal is maybe a journal of agriculture productivity or agricultural production, and then there's a section that deals specifically with papers that are talking about aquaculture. So under that, then you find an editor who is a section editor, for example. So this section editor is in charge of all those manuscripts that will come under that section. And then under him, there are younger people, maybe like associate editors are mostly younger scholars or people who are still now getting or being mentored into being full editors. So they are not in charge of an entire section, but they would be, because even in the aquaculture, then there's aquaculture diseases, then there's aquaculture production, there's aquaculture value addition, all that. So you find associate editors sometimes are allocated to those smaller, those tiny subsections within an entire section. So that is sometimes what happens in most journals. So those are associate editors. Then there's what we call peer review. And I think it had been talked about somehow, but then peer review happens not only for papers, not only for papers for publication, but also sometimes when you send out your grant proposal, they are always sent to reviewers. Now, this is a review process for scientists by scientists. The purpose is to filter what is published as science and to provide researchers with perspective. So this is where you send your paper. The paper is sent out to other people who are within your field or have a bit of, your peers, basically, who can understand and give feedback on what is contained in the paper that you have sent. Now, where is peer review used, as I've said, in scientific publication, where you've written a manuscript and sent it out there. Grant review, you've written a grant proposal, it's sent out for review, or tenure promotion. So let's say you want to be promoted to professor, and or you want to be promoted to associate professor, for example. So you will always send all these applications, and then, of course, it will be reviewed. So sometimes when you are told to, there are journals that will tell you that as you submit your paper, can you recommend some people that you think can be reviewers for your paper? And this is me and the reviewers that I recommend for my manuscript. The people I walk around with so that they can review my paper favorably. The danger with this is it's very easy because you want a shortcut, of course, because that's why you are recommending people you go to parties with. The danger with this is they might end up not giving you sincere feedback, and you might end up having your paper published with some glaring mistakes that could have been, if somebody else could have done it objectively, you could have avoided that from happening. So this is just a misconduct that I was just trying to bring out, that this is not a good way of doing it. Recommend people that you know will do your work without any favor. But what are the constraints of peer review? The peer review can sometimes be very slow. There could be conflicting views or confronting theory biases, depending on who is looking at your work. So here we have objectivity versus personal edit. So sometimes people, they don't review your paper objectively. And sometimes maybe they know you or they don't. There is the blind, the blind review or open review process. So there's the double blind and single blind review processes. So sometimes, let's say if this person knows you, then sometimes they just want to slow you down intentionally. But look at what one of the editors from Lancet, those who are in the field of medical sciences, I think, know Lancet as a journal. He says, editors and scientists portray peer review as a quasi-sacred process that helps to make science our most objective truth teller. But we know that the system of peer review is biased, unjust, unaccountable, incomplete, easily fixed, often insulting, usually ignorant, occasionally foolish, and frequently wrong. I'm not reading that again, but you can imagine how strongly worded that sentence is. So this is coming from an editor of Lancet, one of the greatest journals in the medical field. So you can imagine if this is coming from an editor, he says that editors and scientists want to portray peer review as a quasi-sacred process that helps to make science our most objective truth teller. But we know that the system of peer review is biased, unjust, unaccountable, incomplete, easily fixed, often insulting, usually ignorant, occasionally foolish, and frequently wrong. I won't add a word to that. There are several what we would call scientific misconduct. One of them is gift authorship, where you have a friend or a spouse and you just want to gift them with an authorship. So you just put their name there without them doing anything. There is what we call redundant publication. You have some people call it, there's redundant publication, and also there's what we call salami publication, where you have data, so you published it and then you say, okay, can I just twist it a little bit and then publish the same data in a different way? Then there's plagiarism, where you are copying other people's work without giving them the due credit. Fabrication and falsification, I think, pretty much almost mean the same thing, where you get data and falsify or fabricate data. This one is an acceptance. So, you can imagine the feeling when you receive an email that your paper has been accepted. The feeling is nice. Anyhow, we will get into the writing. But before there, we will need to know that scientific writing is as much about science as it is about writing. Okay, so scientific writing is as much about science as it is about writing. But for some reason, we tend to forget about the latter. So we tend to forget about the writing. Okay, so we focus more about the data collection, all those other things, but we forget about the writing. That is why our goal from today should be to change the mindset about writing, because scientific writing is as much about science as it is about writing. So let's not forget about the writing part. So let's strive to change our mindset about writing. Okay. But then we must keep practicing to improve our writing skills. You can imagine me on the right trying to read an old manuscript back to myself and like, who wrote this? What are these? What did I even write here? Or so you can imagine. So it means that with time, we might not master this 100%. You find professors sending out their papers, and these papers will come back with comments. There is nothing like a perfect manuscript. Even when you're doing your master's or PhD, you send you submit your thesis for examination. You will be told. My supervisor told me, Nicholas, I know there are still some mistakes here in this. We've sat down, read it together, over and over again over the last 1 week, just as we prepare for the final submission. But I am 100% sure that some mistake will still be picked out. So that's true. So we just keep working, we keep reading, we keep working, because we know the more we write, the better we get. Okay, but then what is the motivation to publish? There are quite a number of motivations to publish. I think some of them have already been talked about, but most people just to disseminate information, career prospects, improved funding. There are some also publish for ego and patent protection, and and also other things. Now, what is the difference between authors and readers? Authors are journal focused, while readers are article focused. So authors, when I write a paper, when I write a journal, I'm really so strict on, I'm so worried about where I'm taking it. To which journal am I sending this paper? What is how do you call it? The impact factor, for example. What is the circulation? What is all these things? But the readers, really, sometimes they don't care so much about the journal. Of course, readers also think about where papers are published. But for them, they are focusing on the article. We want the information in the article. So if the information in the article, we just want it to be accurate. So that's why for authors, we are journal focused, while for readers, when we now act as readers, then we are article focused. Now that is where we are coming up now with what we call the publish more, read less dichotomy. So the authors want to publish as much as possible, but the readers want to read as less as possible, but get as much information as possible. So that's a balance that also we have to deal with. But then I think I have already said that scientists spend their time writing proposals, planning research, undertaking experiments, analyzing data, and reading related articles. The ultimate aim of most scientists is to publish their research findings in professional scientific reports. So this could be conference proceedings, could be research articles, could be some blogs, could be book chapters, whatever it is. But the ultimate goal or the ultimate desire of any researcher is to publish their findings out and share it with the people out there. Now, what are the hallmarks of a good scientific writing? What are those things that you look at and say, okay, I think this is a good piece of science, a good piece of scientific writing? Anybody wants to give their opinion? Anybody? What are those characteristics of a good scientific writing? Who wants to try? Yes, Edith. Yes, Edith, go ahead.
Yes, scientific writing, it should be it should have a scientific, follow scientific stages or systematic in writing. It should, from one stage. So if you see any article or any writing that is not in those following those acceptable scientific stages, then it is not a scientific writing.
Thank you for that. You're saying there has to be a certain way. It has to follow a certain order. You know, if you just find something written haphazardly, then that's not really a good piece of scientific writing. Yes, Paul Bongon.
And maybe possibly, again, it should be a scientific writing language, a language that is acceptable for a scientific writing.
Okay,
it's
so
not using doubles and those.
So you've talked about structure and language.
The language.
Okay, thank you. Gloria?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to seek some sort of clarity on your question. Are we trying to, are you talking about maybe the characteristics or principles of good writing, or what a good scientific writing or format, that how it should follow? I'm just trying.
Not the format, but then what are those characteristics that if you see in a piece of scientific writing, you would say this one is a good scientific writing? What are those characteristics that if you see, you will say, I've read a paper, I think that was a good one.
Okay.
Not just the way it follows. Right? Yeah.
Okay. So in my opinion, it should have clarity. It should be clear to a reader to what exactly you're trying to say with your message, and have some bit of cohesion, like let the matter flow cohesively and make sense to a reader. Thank you.
Okay, so you've talked about coherence and also the accuracy of the information being presented. So I don't think there's anything I want to add there, because you've said, you people have said it all. Accuracy is one of those hallmarks. Get the facts straight and convey them without distortion. Clarity, your style should facilitate understanding of your meaning. It should not interfere, okay? Then we have what we call brevity, or conciseness. So do not waste your reader's time and patience with wasted words. However, if brevity interferes with clarity, give preference to a clear statement of meaning. Then we have elegance. So make your prose easy to read. And most of the time, I always tell people, make your sentences a bit shorter. Not too short to interfere with the information you are passing across, but then I would not really want to see a sentence that is 3 lines without any full stop anywhere. That means that you might need to go back, review those sentences, and maybe see how you can break them into shorter ones. So that has just been summarized here graphically. So there is accuracy, clarity, brevity, and elegance. Okay, so so you need to ensure that facts are correct and they are not distorted, facilitate easy understanding. So yeah, the other thing, I think we were also talking about the structure. So that structure should also make your work elegant. Now, what are the forms of scientific communication? There is quite a bit. So today we are only focusing on one. We are only focusing on peer-reviewed journals. That's what we are focusing on. But then from what you can see here, there are several forms. You can have webinars and online courses where you could be talking about science, conference presentations, dissertations, thesis and dissertations. You can also have, you can also communicate in form of books and monographs, scientific posters, research articles, blogs, and social media. So people these days communicate science through so many channels and in so many ways. So today our main focus will be here. research articles which have a structured format, and that is the structured format that we will be talking about. So also, of course, these graphics I have just for those who have attended this training before, you remember there was a table that was put. So I'm also utilizing technology now to try to put my presentations in graphics. So this is part of how now some of these tools will help us, work better rather than just having them in a list. So as we will be discussing AI, I will also show you a few things of, which tools can you use to do what. So I'm trying out a new tool that is helping me do graphics, and I'm not very good at it, but it's a very simple tool to use. Anyway, so we are now starting with the journal article because this is what we really want to write. So I really don't want to get into so many things. The main possible outcomes of a journal review process we've talked about. It can be accepted, which can be very rare if it is just accepted without any. If you send your paper and you are told your paper has been accepted without any review or without any review comments, then you need to start asking yourself, am I dealing with a journal that is predatory, or am I dealing with a legit journal? There's the second possibility is revise and resubmit. So it means we are interested, but you need to do some changes. Then there's reject and resubmit. So most of the time, this is where we have what we call major revision. So you are told these are a complete overhaul that you have to do on this journal, on this paper before you send it back. Or sometimes it's rejected for several things. One is maybe it's beyond the scope, or it's outside the scope of the journal where you've submitted it to, or the quality is questionable for certain reasons. So rejection can come because of anything. So we have, people call it the IMRAD structure, but now the whole one is we have the title, the abstract, the introduction, the materials and methods, the results, discussions and conclusions, and of course a few other things. I know that there are journals that will also ask you to introduce a little bit of a literature review section in a journal paper. I have seen them, but not really common. Most of them, once you do a very good introduction, they will allow you just go through your methodology. But some of them, in between the introduction and methodology, you introduce a small section called literature review. Okay, so basically this is the general thing. So the first one is the title, that provides a concise overview of the study's focus. The second is the abstract that summarizes the study's objectives, methods, results, and conclusions. The third one is the introduction that sets stage. So this is the launching part with background information and research questions. Then the methodology that details the research design and procedures for replicability. Then the third one, of course, after methodology, will now going to present the results. So presents the data collected during the study. Then the discussion interprets the results and explores implications, and also compares with what has been there before. Then we have the conclusions and recommendations. So this one summarizes findings and suggests applications. And then we have the references and also acknowledgement, where we express gratitude to contributors or organizations that assisted, or individuals who assisted. So basically, this is what a research paper looks like. So I think I have explained all the sections, and I think all of you should now know how to write a paper. If we end this session today here, you all know how to write a paper, because the title provides a concise overview of the study's focus. Yeah, it's just that. Anyway, I will not stop it there for key reasons. So let's start by how do we plan, the scientific writing. These are just the preliminary parts. One is the consideration for the reasons for publishing. Why am I publishing? Determine the scope of the manuscript. Let's say you have a thesis, and in that thesis you have 4 objectives. You really need to ask yourself, what is the scope of this paper? How many objectives, or which objectives will be addressed in this paper, so that you also don't put too much information or too little information, okay? Then you also have to connect research to the field. So think about, how is this really resonating with what is happening currently in my field? Then decide early on the target journal. It's always a good thing to have an idea. Okay, yeah, I think I want to send it here. And then consider whether to co-author the manuscript or not. And I would encourage that you co-author. The more authors you have, or the more people you have in your manuscript from different parts of the world, the higher the chances that your paper will receive very good citations. I will show you an example. So the title, which is the first part of this, of a manuscript, it sums up your work in a single phrase or sentence. It is important because it's read by the largest number of readers. You know, the title is read by the highest number of readers. There are those who read the article, the actual paper in the journal, or those who read it in the secondary or abstracting and indexing databases. So these people might not even end up reading the entire paper, but just they will read the title. So it means that your title should be informative, specific, and concise, so that if somebody looks at it, they really know. It's very easy for them to judge whether the information they are looking for, or the information, the data they are looking for, or the knowledge they are looking for is contained in that paper just based on what is in the title. If you write a title that is ambiguous, then people might not really pinpoint and know that, okay, I'm looking for information on a specific thing. This paper should have it. No, so make sure you write, a title that is informative, specific, and concise. The title is, of course, it's the label of your article and the most read element, and it should be as brief as possible. So less than 20. If you go beyond 20, then you really need to start reading again and checking whether there are places where you really need to cut down. So think about when you write a title, and sometimes this doesn't even come at the beginning. So I always tell people, as you write your manuscript, don't try to kill yourself over trying to get the right title at the beginning. Just write your paper. Just have what we call a working title, something just there to guide you. Because as you write, at the end of it, you will look back and say, what really describes what I have written? Do I have something that really describes what I have written? That if somebody is looking for information that is contained in this paper, they will find it. They will select this paper just based on the title. Okay. So you need to describe the content accurately, describe subject specifically. You need to omit verbs where applicable. It should be easy to understand, and it should also be suitable for indexing. This omitting verbs is one thing that I think it has been a subject of debate somehow, but I have seen over and over, researchers trying to advise one another that it's better, instead of saying investigating, it's better saying investigational. That you would rather convert those verbs into nouns, if possible, rather than using them. I don't know the reason, but that is the advice that I have always received. So don't ask me for the reason. Now, do not promise more than what is in the paper. Okay, so if you did not do DNA sequencing in your paper, don't promise. If you just did, if you just looked at what is contained there in a specific cell, and you didn't go into editing, for example, you just did the sequencing and just edit the gene, don't talk about gene editing in your title, because you will mislead people. You also need to cut unnecessary words, like some notes on, or you just try to find a way of writing it in a way that is as concise as possible. And also, we are also encouraged to avoid abbreviations and jargon. If you are going to use jargon, make sure that you have a common name or a term that anybody who is not from your field can also understand. The reason is research is becoming multidisciplinary, and you find somebody is writing a proposal in the field of nutrition, but they are linking nutrition to aquaculture, for example. Now, in your title, you've published a paper, and you published a paper on the nutritive value of Lattes niloticus, or you've written on the nutritive value of Labeo victorianus. Okay. Now, somebody who is in the field of nutrition could be interested in reading about the nutritive content of different fish species. But if you don't write the common name of that fish species, it becomes very difficult. So they could just be passing over your paper, not knowing that the information they are looking for is in the paper they are passing. So make sure that if you are going to use jargon, try in brackets to make it clear, at least put a common name or a common term so that people get to know what it is. Don't assume. that everybody will get to know. Okay, so it means then that you need to choose all your words carefully, avoid abbreviations, chemical formulae, or jargon, as soon as possible. Not as soon, but as much as possible. Okay, so a good title should have few words possible describing content of the paper. So you could start with a sketchy one, have a draft, and then a final title. It may even be the last to be written. Sometimes after writing everything, you will read through your paper and say, okay, I was working with a draft. Can I now craft a title that describes exactly what is contained in this paper? Okay, so there are some examples here. So one is, the first one is a biodiversity threat. If that is a title, then somebody reading your paper will be like, I don't know what this is about. But if you put it as biodiversity threats to biodiversity from invasive alien species in constructed wetlands of Okavango Delta, you can even put a name of the country, for example. Then it's now clear as somebody knows what it is about. Okay, so be specific and try to make it look good. Okay, then after the title, there's what we call a short or a running title. Sometimes when you submit papers to journals, they will tell you that they need a short title or they need what we call a running title. So a running title is like the summary of the title. So imagine the title is in itself a summary, but then if you have to do a summary of that summary, then you can imagine how summarized your journal is, your paper is going to be, your title is going to be. So if they ask you for a running title or a short title, please provide it by yourself, because if you don't, then what happens most of the time, the editor will just truncate it truncate the title you've sent to them and use it as a running title. It might not even describe what you want adequately. So if the title, for example, here is the growth, yield, and quality response of snap bean plants to different inorganic fertilizer application regimes, the running title here could be response of snap beans to inorganic fertilizer. So you see, it's still not very far from the title, but then it does not really give a lot of information. But it's something somebody can read and understand. Then after the title, of course, there are authors. I'm not going to talk about this so much because then authors. An author is one who takes intellectual responsibility for the research results being reported. So if you know you cannot take intellectual responsibility, don't allow yourself to be an author because you will embarrass yourself. Somebody will read a paper and see your name on that paper, and then they engage you on the content of that paper. Then they realize, this guy does not even know what is in this paper, and their names are there. So I've seen that these days people are, we are publishing more and more collaboratively. Very few people are publishing alone. Mostly you find people publishing with others because people do projects collaboratively, people work together, and it's easier also to publish if you co-author with other people. But I also want to ask, maybe somebody can give us their experience. How do you decide who becomes an author and the order? So who becomes author number 1, author number 2? How do you make that decision? Anybody can give us their experience. Yes, Edith. Edith, please go ahead. Are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Yes, I'm saying I've co-authored some 3 journals. One thing I noticed with the principal author is that he's aware or has more in-depth knowledge of the topic. And also probably that is his area of expertise. It's like anchoring on also my knowledge for me to be a co-author. I'll say, for example, someone is good in animal husbandry. However, because of my knowledge in economics, then I come in as a co-author because of the aspects that I'll contribute in terms of maybe the market linkages and also the best strategy to use in terms of building up on that paper. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, one thing you're saying is contribution. Authorship should be based on contribution. That's one thing I picked out. Yes, Collins.
Okay, good morning all. Yeah, like in my own case here, the first author, like the one I did, though we have not published, the first author is given to the person who has the knowledge of the data, or who is the custodian of the data sets we use in writing the manuscripts. So we give the person the first author, then the second author depends on your level of contribution, third author those. So it depends on your level of contribution to the article. Thank you.
Thank you. So you are saying the order also depends on contribution. And I agree that the person who contributes most should be number one, followed by the person who contributes second most, just like that. But there's this person called the corresponding author. Who is a corresponding author? Yes, Salam.
Yes, thank you. Good morning from Uganda. This is Salam. Mostly corresponding author is the person submitting the manuscript to the publisher. So is the one that will interface with other co-authors and the publisher of the journal. So might not necessarily be the first author, but is the one discussing if there's any updates, discussing with the co-authors and also with the editors. Thank you.
Thank you. It's true. And I think you also talked about something I wanted to ask, that must the first author always be the corresponding author? You said it does not necessarily have to be the first author, but this is somebody who is like now the person between the authors and the journal. So he's in between. So if there's a communication from the journal, he will communicate to the co-authors and tell them, hey, we've received an email from the journal. They expect us to do A, B, C, D. Then if also you've done the corrections, you are sending back to the journal, is the one who is. So most of the time, what I always tell people is you need to choose somebody who is who does not have a lot of engagements, because then sometimes if you say that you are going to put a professor as a corresponding author, then this is somebody who receives maybe 100 emails or 20 emails in a day, and it's very easy for these emails from the journal to just fall through the cracks, and then you are waiting for communication from the journal. The journal is also waiting for you to act on the changes that they proposed, and they feel like you're not interested because they say, okay, we sent you comments 3 weeks ago or 1 month ago, 2 months ago. We've not seen any response based on any response or anything from you people, not knowing that the corresponding author did not even see the email. So try as much as you can to be sure that the person who is assigned as the corresponding author is somebody who can communicate in time and in a way that makes it easy for the team too. But then I also want to talk about the sequence. I think we've talked about the order of contribution. So this is just what the Sheffield University of Sheffield tried to find to use, that we can now give you points based on your contribution, and if you get the highest points, now your position in the paper depends on the amount of contribution you have done. I'm not going to talk about that in too much detail. After that, after the authors, we have the address. I will give you an example of a manuscript we are working on right now so that you just see the general structure. So for the title, we get the authors' names, then we get their addresses and affiliations. So basically, this is where these people are, or this is where we can find these people as at the time of the research. So their affiliation may be, let's say, Maseno University, Department of something, then email address, for example, all that. So this is just the address where these people are. After that, we have the abstract. So in your manuscript, the abstract is a very short, it should stand on its own. It should stand alone, okay? So depending on the journal, sometimes it's between 150, sometimes to up to 300 words. So some journals will tell you, you can do, I've seen a journal that will allow you to do even up to 350 words in your, as an abstract. But we have to agree that it's a short summary. Please mute for me, whoever is unmuted. So it's a short summary of your paper, okay? So most of the time it's between 150, let's say, to 300 words, depending on the journal. So just go to the journal website and see the instruction to authors so that you're sure what the length of the abstract should be. So it should contain a little bit of an introduction, the methods that were used, the main results, and the discussion and an interpretation of those discussions, okay? And at the end of it, it also contains keywords for indexing, okay? So in the abstract, you present findings as hard facts. There's no reference to literature in the abstract. There is no abbreviations. There's no reference to tables and figures. You cannot say figure 3. Oh, and there are no conclusions that are not substantiated in the paper. Okay, what are the common mistakes in abstracts? You find people using different font sizes in the abstract, like duplicate words, punctuation errors, poor grammar, references to in the abstract. These are things that are not allowed in the abstract. Okay, so in the abstract, basically you start by giving us a little bit of the purpose. So you can write one line talking about highlighting the main problem, like the main background, then the purpose of the project of the paper that you've written, a little bit of the general methods that were used, then the key results and data, and then an interpretation, of course, of those results, and the conclusion. Okay, so when you're writing an effective abstract, we need to be concise. It's always written last, of course. Then you follow guidelines. So sometimes there is structured. I'll give you just what is here. So we have what we call structured abstracts and unstructured abstracts. So sometimes you find some journals, or sometimes when you are submitting an abstract to for a conference, you are told we want you to have structured structured abstract. A structured abstract is one that now has all those things, all those positions, those parts pulled out. So it has a short background, it has a short methodology, it has a short section on results, and a short section on conclusion. On the other hand, if you are talking about unstructured abstract, it still has all the things that the structured abstract has. It's only that now here they are not pulled apart. Okay, so you see now it starts by giving you the introduction. The introductory part is the growing economic resemblance of spouses has contributed to rising inequality by increasing the number of couples in which there are too high or too low earning partners. Then it goes ahead now to say this now where it demonstrates, it points out the limitations. So basically with this, it looks almost like the structured abstract, except that now these parts are not pulled apart. Okay, so the abstract should have a bit of a background, a bit of a reason why this study was necessary, a bit of the methodology that was used, a bit of the main results, and a bit of a discussion and a conclusion of those main results. Okay, so then at the end, of course, we have what we call keywords. So at the end of the abstract, there's what we call keywords. Okay, so how do we select the keywords? We select the keywords, of course. Yes, Eliab.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about these two words, background and introduction. Yesterday we said background is part of the introduction, but now it's coming out as an independent section within the abstract as background. Why don't we use introduction?
Yesterday we were talking about how do you say, a proposal. So you remember yesterday we said that when you're writing a proposal, the section 1, the chapter 1 that we call the introduction has the background of the study, it has the rationale, it has the objectives, it has the statement of the problem. It has everything, but that first chapter 1 of the proposal is always called the background. So it has everything. It's called the introductory part of your proposal. So it's an introduction that has everything else. But now when you're writing a manuscript, you don't have the luxury of pages. So you will have to condense what you would call the background or what you would call the introduction into just a few sentences, meaning that here in the introduction is where you now bring out, you will see, this is just the abstract, but then when you will see the introduction that we are going to do for our paper, the introduction that we are going to do for our paper now contains all the other things that were in the background of the proposal, condensed into maybe a page or maybe a page and a half, or sometimes even just one page. But then in this case, we are giving a background because you remember in the proposal we were writing, the first part of the introduction was the background before we go into those other parts, but it's still the introduction. So here in the abstract we are giving a background so that people get to know where the problem is, okay, or what is, you know, what is happening in the field as it is right now, so that we just give people, we don't just go and start presenting to people that we did this, why did you do it? So we give them an idea of why we got to the point of thinking of doing that research. So here we talk about the background, not an introduction, because the introduction then would contain a lot of things. You know, introduction, the background is part of the introduction. So in the abstract, we focus on the background, give a little bit of a background, not an introduction in general, because the introduction now would contain a lot of other things. So how do we select keywords? The keywords, you know, at the end of the abstract, there are always keywords that are selected. And sometimes people ask me, Nicholas, how do I select keywords? It's a very simple thing. Imagine you are looking for information like the one contained in the paper you're publishing. What keywords would you key in on Google Scholar or on whatever site that you are looking for papers? What keywords? Start thinking like that. So I'm looking for information, let's say, on feed formulation. I've written a paper on feed formulation using black soldier fly. What do you think are the keywords that I will put? So once I decide on those keywords that I think can give me, I can use when searching for such information, then those are the ones that I look for. So you need to look for words that reflect the content, okay? Because then out from the title, and the title will already will be indexed. So you could, you know, leverage and use other words as your background. Now, if today let's say we had, this was a physical training, and today, so of course after the abstract, we are going to the introduction of the paper. Now this introduction now contains the background. This is where you are going to write the background. You are going to write the reason for your research. You are going to write the gap that is there. You are going to write all those things. You know, just you are going to introduce everything, the background, the objectives of this research. Everything is going to be part of this introduction. Okay, you are introducing your paper. Now, if today let's say we were having a physical training, and I came in and told you that, hey, there is a bus out there. I want you to get to that bus. We are going to town. Yeah, I wanted to get into that bus. Everyone get into the bus. We are going to town. What questions will you ask me? Somebody is asking about indexing. You see, when you go into databases like what we were talking about yesterday, those are not journals, but then they index, they take papers and then put them into one place. So those are the indexing databases. So sometimes they use these keywords so that if you key in keywords, if you put in keywords, then you find them in those databases. Somebody has their hands raised and then they lowered their hands again. What questions will you ask me if today I came into this room and told you that, hey, there's a bus outside, I want you to get into that bus? Yes, Joel?
I wanted to answer that question you were asking. Some of the questions is where is are we getting to the bus, or where are we heading? What is the destination? What time?
Yeah, where are we going? Why are we getting into the bus? What is the destination? How long are you, for how long are we going to be there? Why did you not tell us yesterday so that we can prepare for why is it that you are telling us today? So It means, therefore, that if I'm introducing an idea to you, an idea that is new, then it means that there is some information that I have to provide. Now, let's say today you have been, you've known someone for some time. Let's say you have known, a boyfriend or a girlfriend for some time, and you are now going to introduce them to your brothers, sisters, and your family members. What information do you think they need to know? And what questions do you think they will ask you? Hello? Yes, Justin.
Thank you. The family will definitely ask you a little bit history of where that spouse is coming from, their family, their education status, what they're doing for a living, and things like that.
Yes, where does this person come from? So that means it's their background. What are they doing? Why did you decide, why do you think this is somebody you want to live with? All those things, So it means that if you are doing an introduction, it means this is what is going to predispose, this is what is going to determine whether they will like this person or not, or whether they will be interested in even getting to know them better. If you tell them that I am not even sure, I just met this guy yesterday, what do you think they will say?
They say that you have not enough information about this person. So continue gathering more information. Maybe tell us later.
Yeah, they will tell you, fine, I think you just don't know this person. So you can't come and introduce somebody. How sure are we that you are safe even with this person? You don't. So the introduction, just like the introduction we are talking about, when you are writing the introductory part of your research, of your manuscript, you need to provide enough background. So this is the introduction, like the introduction you remember when you are writing our proposal, the introduction had the background of the study, the objective of the study, the statement of the problem, the justification of the study, the objectives, the statement of the problem, the significance of the study. It had a lot of things. Now, when you are doing an introduction for your paper, all that has to go into the introduction. And you also don't have the luxury of pages like in the proposal where you can write as many pages as you want. Here, we are asking you to tell us a bit of a background. What is the problem? Let's say you are writing about infant mortality. So you need to tell us what infant mortality is, give us an idea of what is happening at the global level, give us an idea of what is happening at regional level, with facts and with data, with statistics, for example. Then come down to the country, come down to the actual location where you are putting you are discussing this thing. Tell us what the problem is. Tell us what the gap is. Tell us why you needed to do this. It is for this reason now that we conducted this research. Tell us what other people have done a little bit, and tell us what has failed, for example. So try to write as much as possible, using as few words as possible, without, sometimes if you go to 2 pages, I've seen mostly it's 1.5 pages. And in that, the introduction should give us a background, should give us the reason for the research, should give us the knowledge gap that is there, should give us the rationale, should give us just all those things, including at the end telling us the main objective of this paper, therefore, was to investigate this, and this. And sometimes people even include the general, how do you say, not the general objective, but the general methodology that was used. So at the end, you will say a good introduction will end by saying the main objective of this paper, therefore, was to investigate that and that using maybe a specific methodology. Just not talking the details of the methodology, but just mentioning, using structured questionnaire survey, for example, or using mixed methods, so that when I read the background or the introduction, I know. Yes, Anthony.
Dog. So does it mean that the background together with the statement of the problem and the objectives shouldn't be more than 2 pages?
in most papers that I have seen, if you go to 2 pages, that will be too much. You shall have written too much, because what we want is you are writing because you have some results to communicate to us. So the background is just to introduce the results. The main thing we are looking at is, what did you find in your research? So the background, I always tell people, try as much as possible not to go beyond 1.5 pages. If you do 1 3/4, 1.5, good enough. Try to restrict it to 1.5. If you push it to 2 pages, fine, but try to just make it not very long. We also don't want to read the background for a very long time before we get to the results. Yes, Godwin.
Yeah, Doc, so how about, sometimes some of the journals, they will require you submit it using double spacing. So in that case, the introduction will be long. I mean, it will look like it's long. But when you reduce it to maybe 1.5, then it will be maybe 1 page or 1.5. So how about that?
Yeah. I think also the length, as you say, depends on the spacing. But I think just try. Let's say if it's double spacing, for example, is 1.5. Just try to restrict it to. The whole message here is, don't overwrite. Don't write like you are going to 3-4 pages. I've read somebody submitted a manuscript and they had an introduction that was 4 pages long. That is not you realize they have written so many other things that could have been, condensed into. So try to restrict it to 2 pages or 1.5, 1.5 to 2 pages. Restrict it to that. And I think I have mentioned what should be contained in your introduction. So I'm not just going to repeat every single thing. We know that the introduction should bring out, it is the launching part. It should bring out the background, the knowledge gap that is there, the reason for doing your work, maybe a little bit of what is known, and also teasing out the problem, basically. Okay. So it also talks about, let me just put all these things here so that we see all of them. So it is in the introduction where you are also going to tell us the limitations of your work or the scope of your work. So in the introduction, you would go. Of course, this is also going to come back in the methodology somehow. But in the introduction, we also need to know, what did you do and what did you not do? Because then so that when we see the results, we understand, okay, so we will not ask you, where is the result for this? In the background, we already had known that, like in this case, let's say we are looking at the effects of alcohol on life expectancy. So what did this study do? The study was a 10-year study. Only men were surveyed. Then 3 classes of drinkers were also surveyed. So we did non-drinkers, moderate drinkers, and heavy drinkers. I don't know how non-drinkers are drinkers, but anyway, they are non-drinkers. Now, we know that women may experience different effects. Medical history was also not considered, and effects such as exercise were also not considered. So we say, in your background, it's always good to tease out some of these things. You would say the study focused on A, B, C, D. However, we are aware, or it's clear that medical history that could also influence this, gender, exercise, and other things could also influence life expectancy. However, they were not part of this study. So that it's clear, somebody does not ask you for what is not there. Okay. Now, this is basically what I've talked about, the components of an effective introduction. Okay, so it guides, of course, the reader through the document. It defines the study's objectives, or the aim. It highlights the research impact or the significance of the study. It also highlights the research question and also the gap. So you need to tell us what is known and what is not known, hence the need for the research you are doing. Okay. These are things I will not talk about. I think these are things I've already talked about very well. Okay. So what are the elements of an effective introduction? It has to have what we call focused content. So keep the introduction concise and relevant. Okay. Then you need to have what we call an engaging opening. So you need to capture readers' attention by a compelling start. You don't want to start very weakly, so that if somebody starts reading, then there's no hook. There's something what we call a hook. So make sure there is that hook when if it's about infant mortality, or you can make a very strong, bold statement at the beginning and then support it with certain citations. And then somebody will be like, yeah, that's quite bold. That's something I'm interested in reading. But if you start with very general and weak introductions, then somebody might say, maybe there's nothing much in this. So then writing the body of the paper. So the introduction, do not start by writing the introduction of your paper. I will tell you where to start from. But the introduction is always the most difficult part of the paper to write. So you find procrastination will tend to kick in when you start looking for papers to write your introduction. You're not finding papers. You will tend to procrastinate. So I will tell you where to start from, because then for writing a paper, I will always suggest that you start from the known as you move towards the unknown. The known is the data that you have. You already have the data. That's why we're writing this paper anyway. If you did not have the data, you would not be writing this paper. So let's start by writing what we have, and then we move towards what we don't have. That is what is going to make the work easier for us. Okay. We'll not read all those. Those ones things I've written. You need to convince the reader that your work is important. Provide enough background information to allow readers to understand and evaluate results without reference to previous publications on the topic. You are the only one who should tell us, you should give us references in your, so I don't have to go to another paper to understand what you are writing about. I don't have to refer to previous publications to understand this topic. Just based on the publications you have cited and based on the statements you are making in your introduction, I should be able to understand what you are writing about. You should also need to provide rationale for the study, state briefly and clearly why you wrote the paper. Now, here you start broadly within your field, and then by putting your topic into a wider context in order to orient your reader, then you should then quickly and briefly focus on your specific research problem. Okay. So let's say we are talking about enhancing aquaculture productivity, and the entire thing we are addressing, we are putting it within the context of enhancing food security or addressing food insecurity. So you need to make sure that you start by talking to us about the bigger picture first in your introduction. So don't just go directly to saying, let's say we are writing, I'll still go back to black soldier fly, the use of black soldier fly in fish feed formulation as an alternative protein source. You don't just, in your introduction, we don't expect you to just go directly to start talking about black soldier fly. If it's about addressing the alternative sources of protein, or talking about the high cost of fish feeds because of the over-reliance on fish meal as a source of protein, then you need to talk about the bigger picture first. So start by talking about the cost of production in aquaculture, for example. So the high cost of feeds, what it brings, the problems associated with it, before you now come back to, you now come down to talking about BSF. So you need to talk about the bigger thing and then now narrow it very fast. So don't spend a lot of time in the broader perspective. Narrow it very fast to BSF and how BSF can now be used as an alternative source, the gaps that are still there, what we still don't understand about BSF, and then now what your paper is now addressing, and the reason why that it's important now to address those things. So it should provide adequate information about your research area so that readers do not need to refer to other materials to understand your research problem. Okay. So it forms the launching pad. I talked about this, and it should also summarize the background research while pointing out what is lacking in the published literature. So where is the gap in knowledge? So in your background, I also need to see where the gap is. However, this and this has been done. However, studies are still lacking, or there are very few studies on this specific aspect that my research is tackling. Okay. So I think this is just a graphical summary of that. So you start with a broad concept. So begin by placing your topic within a wider field to orient the reader. Then specify the problem. Quickly narrow down to the specific research problem you are addressing. Then justify why your research is important and necessary. Then provide enough background information to readers so they don't need external references. Then you hook the reader. Start with an engaging hook to capture the reader's attention. And then you summarize existing research, and while also identifying the gaps that still exist. So these are just links to certain videos that you can watch on YouTube. You're not going to watch them here because of time. you can go at your own time and they will be shared. So you can click on the links and just go and just watch what is there. They are on YouTube. There are some good videos that are on YouTube. After the introduction, materials and methods. And the materials and methods, I don't think I have to spend a lot of time here. We talked about this in the proposal. It's not any different. Depending on the kind of study you are doing, you need to give us adequate information about how you collected your data. If I am doubting the methodology, then I will start doubting the results. If you wrote that you are going to do, if you wrote that there's a certain procedure you are going to carry out, and then the results you are showing me are not obtained from those kind of procedures, then I will doubt those results. So make sure that the materials and methods section is as clear as possible, and also make sure that you've given enough enough information that somebody, if they are provided with the same resources you had as at the time you are conducting your research, they will be able to the presentations will be shared. So be sure that you give enough details that if somebody wants to repeat your work, if they are given the same context, given the same result, the same resources and everything, they will be able, maybe they might not get the exact same results, but they should be able to replicate your work. That is why we really need to be critical on this, okay? So the aims of the materials and methods section or methodology section in general is to repeat your work for verification. It is the cornerstone of science, and to judge the adequacy of the methods and the reliability of the results. I will only deem your results as reliable and factual if the results were, if the methods were adequate. So if you used mixed methods, for example, if you did qualitative surveys or quantitative whatever, make sure that it's clear on how did you do it. Make sure it's how did you select the population, the target population, and why? What was the sample size? How did you calculate the sample size, for example? How did you design your questionnaires? You might not give us all the questions, but give us an idea of what the questions were about, a general idea. Now, depending on your field, your methodology can be different. So that's why I was saying in the methodology section, even yesterday when I was talking about the proposal, I can't tell you that this is how to write the methodology because we are from different fields. The only general thing I can tell you is give enough information so that if somebody wants to repeat your work, they are able, so they don't ask a lot of questions. So let's say in natural sciences, like in our case where we do either experiments or sometimes do data collection and then go and do analysis. So here you need to talk about the reagents and chemicals used, equipment, sample size, for example. Under the methods, we are talking about the experimental design. If you used a complete or split plot or completely randomized, all those things are there. You know those different experimental designs. The procedures, how did you collect the data? I weighed fish to the nearest grams every 2 weeks. Just be clear on what you actually did. Then statistical analysis. Under statistical analysis, we know that we are not all data scientists. So as I think yesterday we said, it's always good also to work with a data scientist, and so that they can inform you, okay, this is how we are going to analyze it. And this is the kind of data sets you need to collect, because then you might end up collecting inadequate data or data that is not correct. So when you go into analysis, you realize, hey, I've done my own things, okay? Then just make sure that it's clear, you give sufficient information, it has to flow logically, and if there are citations, because sometimes you are using certain protocols, you don't need to tell us that 25 grams of silicon was dissolved in 5 milliliters of water and left to cool. No, if there is a protocol that is already developed in your field, just say analysis were done according to, and then you cite that so that it's easier for us now. If I want to get more details, I would easily go back and check, okay? I think these ones are just general information. So an example, for example, if you are using mixed methods, so you conducted your research and you are using mixed methods, you need to provide information on, for example, about data collection. You need to provide information about the quantitative data collection or qualitative data collection. For example, the quantitative phase and qualitative phase. What was the research design? How did you design your research actually? the ethical considerations, for example. You need to talk to us about all these things. How actually was the research done? And as I said, it's difficult for me now to start saying, if you are doing economics, this is how you write your methodology. It also depends, even within economics. You are doing maybe econometrics, someone else is doing market analysis. So it's really varied. There's no way I can come here and tell you that this is one way of writing everything. No, it can't work like that. But then be meticulous. If you cannot be trusted in simple things, can you expect the reader to trust you in significant and complex ones? Check if a colleague can repeat the experiment based on the description given. Okay? So the writer is often too close to the method and they omit details glaringly obvious to them. Okay? And the other thing is, do not mix your materials and methods in the results section. The results section is for the results. Okay? So sometimes, depending on the kind of study, sometimes you have to talk about the study site, the study species, for example, the materials that were used, the data processing and analysis, the study site, for example. Let's say we are sampling or we are conducting an experiment in a specific part of the country, for example. Just give us the study site, describe why you chose it, give a bit of a description of the study site, georeferences, coordinate. You can provide a graph, for example, or a map. Just give enough information so that somebody exactly knows where you collected data. Okay, I'm not really going into these others. These are things I've talked about. This section should be chronological and informative, providing details of the experimental design, details of the control used, including their purpose, details of the data recording techniques, exact quantities and purities of reagents. People in chemistry will know that purity of reagents sometimes can influence the outcome of experiments. So the technical specifications of apparatus, specific methods of sample preparation, accurate nomenclature, for example. So if you use a certain kind of animal, the nomenclature has to be clear so that we are not trying, whoever's reading your work is not going to mistake it for another animal. Precise details on any subjects or sample, including the study, details of the sampling protocols, if you used any, for example. So those are the things. When do you write this? My advice is to start, when you start your writing, start by writing the materials and methods section, because it is the easiest to write. Because this one, you just narrate what you did. You just tell us, this is how I organized my experiment. This is how I collected my data. So this is what you have. So start by writing your materials and methods section, and then go and write the results, because the results you already have. So we start from what we have, moving towards what we don't have. Yes, Godwin?
Dog, it's a mistake, sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem, no problem. So as I said, my suggestion is that you start by writing this, but it's always good to start writing it when the other collaborators are still around. Let's say you are collaborating with some people from Japan or from India, or you are working together with people from a different university. You've gone to the field, you have started writing the manuscript. When they are gone, and maybe there are certain aspects that are not very clear, you will start struggling. But if you write when they are still here, you can easily ask them, okay, what was the description of that beach where we collected the samples? Then somebody will say, okay, on that day, there were this number of boats, and these were the main activities happening at the beach. So somebody can also help correct you, because they still have a recollection of what happened. So mine is to suggest that you write the materials and method section, then go and write your results. Describe your results very well. There are journals that will tell you to write the results and discussion separately. There are journals that will tell you to combine results and discussion, depending on what the journal requires. If you are told to write results separately and discussion separately, then just write the results separately without discussing them. Then go and write a discussion section. Okay? Now, the results. The results now, this is why you are writing the paper. So everything hinges on the results. Okay? Must be logical, easy to follow, and correct. So you make sure that in your methodology, the way your methodology was narrated is the same way your results should follow. So methodology 1 or method 1 should give us result 1. Method 2 should give us result 2. So it's easy for me as a reviewer to go back and forth and check. This person is reporting plant height, for example. how did he, because his objective one or the method he described was how to collect plant height, data on plant height. How was it collected, and what are the results? So if I find that your methodology, you are talking about plant height, but then I'm seeing leaf length, or I'm seeing leaf area, or I'm seeing chlorophyll content, then I will be like, what is happening here? So make sure that the methodology the results come in the order in which the methodology was written. Okay. Now, start by presenting the bigger picture. You remember when you are starting to write your paper, there was one big question you are asking yourself: does this influence this, or is there a relationship between this and that? So start by presenting the bigger picture, and then now you go ahead and now give us the other details. Okay. You need to give details when there are significant results. You need to give details. So in significant results, do not give too much detail. Do not give a lot of details about insignificant results. I'm not saying you ignore them. You need to say if there was no significant difference or significant relationship between variable A and variable B, mention it, but don't give too much details. But if there are significant differences or significant correlations, try to give a bit more details, like the statistical information, so that So if a variable is not influential, or a difference is not significant, mention but do not give too much details. Okay. So here you start by introducing. So an introduction, giving a brief overview of the section's purpose. So what is this section about? Okay. Then present findings through text, tables, and figures. So you decide which ones do I present in text, which ones do I present in tables, and which ones do I present in figures. So when you're presenting in figures and tables, also the other thing that I always tell people, make sure that if you have a figure or a table in your document, refer to it in your writing. When you're describing your results, and there's figure 1 or figure 2, figure 3, if you don't mention it, then the reader will not know where it fits within your write-up. So make sure that if you have a table or if you have a figure, when you are writing or you are describing your results, make sure you mention it, so that I know where to put it. You say maybe the highest result, the highest height was recorded in spinach grown under the soil condition, as summarized in figure 3, so that I go to figure 3 and see. You can direct me by mentioning them. If you don't mention them, I don't know them. Then in the results, then of course now statistical analysis includes results, statistical test, and with explanation. So let's say if it was an ANOVA, for example, then you say one way ANOVA, then you can give the degree of freedom and all that. All that information is always given when analyzing data. Then you can also organize your results into subsections. Okay. So let's say if it is about plant growth, or let's say if it's about fish growth parameters or growth performance. So in fish growth parameters, we have the length, we have the weight, we have the length-weight relationship. For example, we have the specific growth, we have the daily growth rate, all those things. So if you have complex data, make sure that you can arrange them into subsections, so that it's very clear that, okay, this subsection is talking about the length, this one is talking about weight, this one is talking about growth parameters. So make sure you do that, okay? So that it's clear for us to see, to know that now you're talking about, what is that you're talking about? I have told you that you need to use tables and figures, and not all data need a figure or a table. Many results can be given in text, and some of them you just narrate. You don't have to draw a figure, you don't have to draw a table, okay? And as I also said, if you have a figure or a table, mention it, okay? When do we write this? After the materials and methods, okay? Do not start with methods when you are writing your results. Do not give the materials. All those are just things that you will also check. Okay. These are also, I've also talked about the tests that you used, for example, and be sure that you can explain, you can defend why you used a t-test, for example, instead of ANOVA, or why you did thematic analysis, or you did text analysis instead of. So be sure that whatever kind of analysis, data analysis method you have utilized, you have a justification as to why you chose that method. Okay. Tables and figures we've talked about. make sure that the legends you have, it's as clear as possible, so that somebody does not, even if it's about units, include units, for example, include a very clear legend. If it's a figure, the caption goes below the figure. If it's a table, the caption goes above the table. And make sure that you give enough information so that people don't go asking, what is this table about? What is that table talking about? I'm seeing some subscripts and superscripts. What is that about? So, make sure that it's as clear as possible. I think I'm not really going to repeat the summary on the results. I have summarized it quite a bit, so there's no need of that. Now, after the results, you need to now go ahead and interpret those results. Now, as I said, there are some journals that will tell you that you write the results and section and the discussion section separately, but there are some journals that will tell you you mix them. So if a journal says that you have a section that combines results and discussion, then you write a result and interpret it straight away. So you write a result and say, this is what I think it is, and then compare with someone else's work. Write the result, interpret, compare. Write result, interpret, compare. But if the journal says that we expect results and discussions to be separate sections, then in the results section, do not go into the temptation of trying to interpret. They could be very interesting results, and you want to go ahead and just start saying, this is what I think, this is what is happening. No. Come to the discussion section and now try to interpret those results. Now, your discussion should also follow. You remember we started following the chronology from the methodology. We said method 1 should give us result 1, and it should also give us discussion 1. Okay? Now, the discussion is the opposite of the introduction. In the introduction, you remember we were starting broadly and then narrowing down to the current problem. In the discussion section, we start narrow by interpreting the current results, and then we now broaden by comparing with what other people have done. So it is the introduction is an inverted is a funnel, but the discussion is an inverted funnel where we now have the narrow part. We start narrowly by interpreting the current results and compare with what is happening out there. So basically that is what happens in the discussion. So this is to explain what the data means and compare to what others have found. Basically, that is what you do here. So most rejections are due to faulty discussion. So if you are unsure and you've not interpreted the results the way they should have been interpreted, then people will start saying, okay, do you even know what these results mean? Okay. There's a common fault that is called the squid technique, where authors are unsure of what their data mean and they now hide behind a protective cloud. Okay. So they speculate quite a bit. So the discussion here is you restate the key findings. You remember when we were presenting our results, we started by presenting the bigger picture. In your discussion, start by discussing that bigger picture. Start by interpreting that bigger picture first. Summarize the main finding to set context. Interpret the results. That is what happens after that. Interpret the results. These are the results I'm seeing. Interpret what they mean. Compare with previous research. So here, I always tell people, don't shy off from comparing with people who got different results. Some people try to stick only to, they only want to highlight that this agrees. The results of the current study agree with what has been reported by so and so. If you find that people reported different results, just accept, if somebody got different results, there could be a reason why. So compare not only to those that agree with your work, but also those that differ with your work. So restate key findings, interpret results, compare with previous research, acknowledge limitations. So if there were certain weaknesses, this is the point where you discuss them. For example, if there are some results that came, in a way that might raise issues, just try to explain that out of the 55 people that were recruited in this study, only 50 completed the study. The other 5, fell out because of A, B, C, D, and this is how then that was taken care of. Okay, then you of course do a concluding remark at the end. So one example here is start very short with a very short reminder of the main purpose and the key result, maybe 1 or 2 sentences, depending on how long you want your discussion to be. So start from specific and progress to a more general discussion. So note that the direction is opposite from that in the introduction. I think I pointed that out already. This may be also the place to confront potential critics. Now, tell the reader the limitations of your study. I think I have also brought out this. So the example here is paragraph 1, key results, what they mean. Paragraph 2, how do these findings relate to results of previous work? Paragraph 3, potential drawbacks and their solution. Paragraph 4, summary of results and conclusions. Depending on what the journal wants, some journals will tell you to have a separate section of results and conclusion. Just do that, okay? So I think those are things I've also talked about. Those are also things I've talked about. I'm not really going to repeat every single thing. When do you write it? Towards the end, after the results. And this may also be written together. So this is where you are just interpreting what the results mean. And you are allowed, of course, also to speculate sometimes. If you're not really sure, you could say this could be attributed to, okay? So the summary here is that the discussion is an interpretation of the results. You link introduction and discussion. Be sure discussion deals with issues raised in the introduction. Then after the introduction, after the discussion, of course, we have the acknowledgements. And in the acknowledgements, this is where we always acknowledge people or thank people for permissions, approvals to carry out research. So maybe you are doing a research in a laboratory, they allowed you to do your work there. Somebody helped you in your data collection and they are not part of the authorship for some reason. Acknowledge and say, just thank them. And always we say, don't wish to thank, just thank. You say, we would like to thank, who is stopping you? Just go ahead and we appreciate or we thank or we are grateful. Just say that. And this is a courtesy, not a surprise present. Ask people if they agree to be included and show the wording to the person acknowledged. I think this is one thing we always ignore. You always, sometimes it's good to ask people or ask an institution that I'm publishing a paper and I know I will not put your researchers in there, but because I did the research, I collected data, I used your boat to go to the lake to collect data. Is it okay if I acknowledge Kenya Marine and Fisheries, for example, so that they don't see a paper out there? Sometimes you acknowledge an institution and then they have a problem with it. They say, we don't want to be part of that. We are not supposed to be seen as part of that project. Why did you put our name in that paper? So ask, okay? The style, be simple, precise, do not wish to thank, simply thank. Give reason why a person is included in the acknowledgement. So if you're including a person or if you're including an institution, explain why. You cannot just say that we are grateful to Maseno University. For what reason? For allowing us to do this, so give reason. Appendices could be anything. So you could say, okay, I'm publishing this paper, there's some information that I want. So maybe output of certain, models that you run, maybe your questionnaires or data collection tools, if, any additional material that you think can help. Then you have the references. Make sure that you stick to the format that is given by the university or given by the paper, the journal where you are sending your paper to, okay? Then there is ethics in science, the plagiarism. These are things we know about right now. Selecting the journal for your paper. So I want to stop here for a minute so that we take a little bit of some break, a 10-minute break. Then we come back at 11:10 and start about after writing our paper. We are now going to select the right journal for our paper. How do we select a journal? How do we look for a journal to publish our paper? We will stop here, and then we come back after 10 minutes to just do a few other things. As we stop, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll start with them as we progress towards the second section of this training. So we are coming back at 11:10. Depending on where you are, maybe Nigeria, the time could be different, or in Ghana, the time could be different, but then we are coming back after 10 minutes.
Here.
Live and kick.
My blood is bad. That's why I'm coming.
Nicholas, you're on mute.
Okay. I thought I was not muted. Anyway, so how do you select the right journal for publication now that you have a journal? How do you select the right journal? Maybe you can give us an experience. How did you go about it? How did you select the journal? Anybody at random? There is no right or wrong way of doing this. It's just about experience. How did you go about it? Who wants to share? Does anybody want to share how they arrived at the journal? How did they select? How they selected the journal to send their paper to? Okay, so there are several strategies, and one of them, of course, is relying on the journals that because when you are writing, you are citing certain papers. So these papers were published in certain journals, and some of them are very close because for you to cite a paper, of course, it's related to what you're writing. So one of the best ways is to just check where the papers in your reference list have been published. There are chances that those journals will publish your paper as well because they are related, to what you are writing, and that's why you are citing them in your write-up. That is one methodology. But the other way these days is using what we call journal finders, and I'll just give an example of a journal finder. But before I do that, I need to get a manuscript that I will use as an example here. So I'll just give an example using a manuscript so that I've just picked out a manuscript we are working on so that we can use as an example. So they are what we call journal finders. Yes, Collins.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Sorry to interrupt or digress a little bit. I'm looking at our agenda today, and also yesterday we discussed about ethical way of using AI tool in research writing. And before the break, I think I saw it in the agenda of today, in the first session, and I don't think if we covered it in this section, and I don't know if you have plan of covering it in this current session. Thank you.
Yes, we have to talk about that today. We have to talk about AI. That's something we have to talk about. There are two tools that I want to discuss that are AI based, and it is at that time that I will talk about the ethical use of AI. And of course, it's not just about me to talk about ethical use. We all are here to discuss how then we can use AI ethically. So that will come. So I just wanted to show you how we can use what we call journal finders these days that make work very easy for us. So you can easily just come here, and depending on what you want, where do you want to publish your paper? Do you want to publish with Elsevier, for example? Do you want to publish with, well, I'm just going to give you an example here. So just go and type journal finders. So, sorry, yeah. So if you type journal finders, then you will find that almost all these publishing houses have journal finders. So you will always, it's very easy for you now to say, okay, I want to publish in Elsevier, for example, then you just go under Elsevier and find a journal within Elsevier based on the title of the paper you are publishing. If it's Springer, if it's Wiley and Francis, if it's Taylor and Francis, if it's MDPI, Emerald, depending on where you want to publish your paper. So let's say we want to publish in Elsevier or in Springer. Let's say Elsevier, for example. Just click on Journal Finder here. And then Elsevier will now allow you to just put your abstract. So let's say I have my journal here. I'll just pick the abstract, just copy the abstract, all of it. Then I'll come and paste it here. I'll come and paste it there. Then I click on Find Journals. Then based on the abstract, it will suggest for me many journals here. See, these are journals that are relevant to the paper that I'm writing. So it's up to me to choose. Now, either based on the article processing fee, based on acceptance. Now, the other thing that we now look at once the matching is done is we can check up here now. See the information that is provided up here? We have this impact factor, the site score, the time to first decision, then time to acceptance date. Then acceptance rate is also one thing that we also check. You see, like this journal, the acceptance rate is 6%. So I also don't want to gamble by sending my journal to a paper where the chance of it being accepted is only 6%. So these are also some of the things you look out for. Apart from, of course, just checking so many other things, you can also check. You also don't want to send your journal to one that takes a very long time for it to be published. So here also, if you want to publish open access, you also check how much will it cost me. This is $3,250. Pounds. I don't know whether it's dollars or pounds, whatever it is. So these are some of the things you check. But I think the most important thing that I was bringing to your attention is these days there are journal finders that you can use to just get a journal where to publish your paper. So let's say if you want to publish with Springer, for example, just click on that. Then Springer also gives you the chance to just put a journal, paste your abstract. Then it will suggest journals for you based on the abstract that you have pasted. So all these are journals. All these are journals. See, all this. So then you can open one of them. Let's say we say this is the one that we like, waste environmental science and pollution research. This is the one that we like, for example. So just click on it. Then we will go to our journal. So this is what the journal website looks like. So we can submit our manuscript, but before we submit our manuscript, I would want us to look at the overview. Okay, so what does it publish about, so that we don't submit a paper that is beyond or outside the scope. So just read what it covers, what it publishes about, so that you are sure that you are sending it to the right journal. But then you also need to, when you click on for authors here, see, for authors, it will give you instructions, submission guidelines, what you need, fee and funding, submitting your manuscript. So let's say you have read the author, the submission guidelines, and you have prepared your manuscript according to the guidelines that are provided. Then we can now go ahead and now start, you see all these things. Then we go ahead and do our submission, okay? You create a name, all those things. After that, the procedure is not difficult. It will just be directing you step by step. Upload this, upload this, upload this, you see. I have an account with Springer, so if I log in, then I will easily now go ahead and publish and submit and wait for the outcome of the submission process. Okay, I just want to share something back here. So the journal selection, I think these are things I've already talked about. There is, yes, Anthony.
Yes, Doc, and I want to ask, for instance, when finding a journal and maybe you paste your abstracts, won't the journal share the abstract with other readers?
It does not share with other readers because this is just to allow you. It's not, in fact, once you do the search, once you exit, then that also just disappears because it's not the journal does not keep it on its website. It's just for the sake of trying to help you match up the best journal that you can find. So it's not kept within the journal's website. So it's not, even if you search, you're not going to find it. It's just for you to help, just to help the journal match you, or the publisher to match you with the right journal within its the journals, the general journals that it has. So when you are selecting your journal, one is align the scope. So you cannot tell us that you are publishing a journal within the field of aquaculture and you are sending it to a paper that a journal that publishes on history, unless it is the history of aquaculture. Just try to align with the scope. So that one you can, when you go to the general website of the journal, then you will find the scope. Okay, identify the audience. So determine if the journal reaches the target demographic, for example. Then assess reputation. So evaluate the journal's standing in the field. You don't want to deal with what we call predatory journals. We'll talk about predatory journals and how to identify them. Consider impact factor. Choose the access type. Do you want to publish open access, or you want to publish a paper that will be hidden behind a paywall? Review guidelines so that you adhere to the specific formatting requirements. We don't want your paper to be rejected just because you did not format it correctly. Okay, understand the review process. Most journals will tell you the review process, how long it takes, whether it is double blind, whether it is single blind, or whether it is open. Then examine publication. So also try to just download 1 or 2 papers from the journal, just to be sure. Just gauge the quality and relevance of the work that they publish. Seek recommendations. Sometimes it's also good to seek recommendations from your mentors, your supervisors, and also from the people you are writing with. Predatory journals, I'm not going to talk about them so much, but then how do we identify predatory journals? I don't know whether I have so predatory journals, basically, these are journals that abuse the open access system. So they charge, but then they don't also do what we call standard, they don't apply standard procedures when it comes to publishing. So you submit a paper today, you receive an email in the morning or in the evening telling you that your paper has been accepted for publication and you just need to send money. You will know that you are dealing with a predatory journal. So if they don't offer peer review, or some of them purport to be offering peer review, but the peer review they do is just telling you they read it through Grammarly, and they just tell you that you need to put a full stop here, full stop there. That is not peer review. So with that, you know you are dealing with a journal that is predatory. Okay, so how do I identify predatory journals? There's the lack of peer review. So predatory journals often claim peer review, but do not conduct genuine evaluations. Then there's what we call aggressive solicitation. I think you've seen this in your emails, where journals just reach out and send you, asking you to send papers, submit papers, without you, even trying to reach out. So then there's some of them charge high publication fee. Maybe not. This is not a very good indication of a predatory journal. Some genuine journals also charge high fee, but then if you find a journal that has not displayed their article processing charges on the journal on the website, then know you are dealing with a journal that is not straightforward. Some of them will tell you that, okay, we charge to publish your paper, but we will only tell you how much we will charge after your paper has been accepted. That is not acceptable. So if a journal is going to charge article processing cost, or APC, it has to be clear on their website that for you to publish with us, or for you to publish open access, we are going to charge this amount of money. Okay, then some of them have what we call misleading matrices. So you find that they are saying their impact factor is 17, and you just know this is falsified. So these are some of the characteristics. But then how do I identify and avoid them? Check the website. So just check the editorial board information. Just find a few people. If they have an editorial board, go and Google them. Are these real people? Do they come from the universities or the research institutions they claim to come from? Are they active researchers in the field right now? You don't really want to work with people who published, the last paper they published was in 1975, and they are just check, do due diligence. What is their peer review process like? you really need to just check a few things. There is also what we call the cabinets list that also lists predatory journals. Be wary of unsolicited invitations. So if they send you a lot of emails or you feel you're skeptical about them, just be aware. There's a journal there's a site that is called Think Check Submit. So you can always go to Think Check Submit, and you ask you certain questions. You know, on that Think Check Submit platform, there's a list of journals, but also there are some questions that will ask you. If you answer those questions and realize that these questions are pointing to the fact that this journal I'm dealing with is predatory, then you don't publish there. You really don't want to do a very good work and then submit it to a journal that is not going to do justice to it. Okay, so submission, of course, I've given you a bit of an idea. You know, it's a very straightforward process. Once you identify the journal, you formatted your manuscript according to what they require, then you will be guided very easily how to submit your paper. Okay? Now, how I told you that there is a way you need to submit, you need to prepare your journal or your manuscript. I don't know why it came at this point. I think it's just misplaced. I could have put it somewhere before this, but then I just want to say, start by preparing your figures and tables, write your methods, write the results, write the discussion, write a compelling conclusion, write the introduction at this point, write an abstract, write the title, select the keywords, write the acknowledgements, and write the references. So this is the steps I'm talking about. When you want to write a paper, when you want to prepare your manuscript, start by preparing the figures and tables, including the captions, okay? Then next, write the methods, okay? How was this data collected? Then write the results, then write the discussion. You could even write them together sometimes. Then write a clear conclusion, write a compelling introduction, write the abstract, compose a concise and descriptive title, select keywords for indexing, write the acknowledgements, and then write up the references. This format will help you, because if you start with the introduction, for example, then you will realize you might even go back and restructure your introduction. After writing the entire paper, you read the introduction and realize, I don't think this introduces the information here very well. So I suggest that you follow these steps. Start with step 1 all the way to step 11. We will share this so that you can also look at them further. What are some of the challenges in scientific publication? These are things we are not going to talk about again. I will really just not go into so many of these things. Now, that is the first part, and thank you for this first part. There is a second part that we now need to move into, now that we have our manuscript out there and we are waiting for feedback. Yes, Anthony.
Thank you very much, Doc, for this educative information regarding journal publication. So looking at the steps, I want to ask, does it mean that when submitting the paper, you don't have to submit it as one document, but you have to submit it in batches, as we have done in the steps?
No, the steps I'm showing you is just the steps on how to prepare to write your paper. When you are writing this, all this will contribute into one document. So you will eventually submit one document, but these are just steps towards preparing that one document. That is what I was saying, that as you prepare towards having one compiled document, these are the steps that you want to follow, so that you start by preparing tables and have them somewhere very well, so that when you start now compiling, this is the steps you are going to follow. I'm not saying that you submit each of these separately. No, you are going to compile this into one document. Just give me 1 minute. I have to pick an urgent. So these are just steps to break it down so that you have an easy way of preparing, you know, what comes before what, but then all this becomes one document. Now that you've asked that, sometimes you find some journals will tell you that when you are submitting your manuscript, you don't submit, sometimes some of them will tell you you submit the document and then you submit tables and figures separately. That now depends on the journal. You can prepare figures and tables separately if the journal requires you that you submit the main text document and then you submit the figures and you submit the tables separately. That now depends on the journal. But then all this I was just showing you so that you come up with one document. I want to show you this. I want to talk about two tools before I do the last part, which is what do you do after you have published your paper? Your paper has been accepted, it has been published, it's on the internet. What do you do with it? We are coming back to that. But before we get there, I want to talk about two AI tools that can be used in academia. I think one thing we talked about was that we have to agree that we cannot run away from the use of AI in academia. We will resist it for as long as we want, but at one point, it will have to come back to us. People are using this. Researchers, we are competing against researchers in Europe and in America. They are using these tools. So we can't bury our heads in the sand and say, we are not going to use them, or we cannot use them. We have to get to a point where we are going to use them. Even whether it's today or tomorrow, we will use them. People are already using them. So I want to demonstrate two tools. One of them is called Scholary, and another one is called Jenny AI. Okay. So I will start by demonstrating how to use Scholary, and then we will get to use Jenny. I'll just go here. I'll share my screen if you want to get to Scholary. So Scholary is a summarizing tool. Scholary does not write anything. Scholary, if you have papers, let's say you have 50 papers or 80 or 1,000 papers that you want to read, and it's difficult for you to start reading them word by word. It sometimes consumes a lot of, not sometimes, it consumes a lot of time to start reading a paper from the introduction, the main points. It's difficult. So there's a tool that can help you pick out the key results and summarize that paper for you. So you just go and type Scholary like this. So Scholary, there are two versions of Scholary. The one I want to use to show you is the first one, but then I will also demonstrate this, what we call the article summarizer. So when you come to the article summarizer, the article summarizer will allow you to summarize 3 papers for free every day. 3 papers for free without paying anything. So you can come here and click try for free. Okay, the article summarizer. When you click try for free, it allows you to upload a paper. So I will upload a paper here. So when you click try for free, you can drag and drop a paper here, or you can just click and then it allows you now to upload. So I'll look for a paper, just a random paper from somewhere, I don't know where, but I'll look for some random paper, maybe this one. I'll just upload, I don't know what that paper is, but then you will see, if you can see my screen, that is what it does to the paper that I have just uploaded. So it uploads the paper, summarizes the paper into what we call summary flashcards, and then you will see what is contained in those summary flashcards, so that you get to appreciate how then powerful this tool is. It picks this information directly from the document, so it's up to you now to sit down with with the summary and synthesize it in a way, synthesize and contextualize it in a way that you can now use in your writing. But it gives you, it summarizes every single section of the paper for you. I don't know why it's taking too long. I don't know, it's my internet. So actually, what it is doing right now, it is converting the paper that I uploaded into what we call summary flashcards, so that you have section. This is the paper. Okay, this is the paper that we uploaded. So this is the title of the paper. We uploaded this entire paper, but the paper has now been converted into what you are seeing here. Okay, so there are other details that have been tucked away. So these are the details have been tucked away just so that it does not interfere with your reading. So this is the summary of the paper. So it starts by giving us a snapshot of the paper. Might not be a lot of information, but it gives us a snapshot what the paper is about, okay? A snapshot of the paper. Then it goes ahead now to give us key findings. So here it has given us 5 key findings from the paper. What are the 5 key findings? The experiment shows that phosphorus has a high chemical affinity to all whatever. The key findings of the design include information of whatever. So it gives you, apart from just the snapshot, it goes ahead to give you 5 key findings from the paper. What are the key findings? Then it of course gives you, summary of this objective. So it also summarizes the objective for you. You can also always scan through from they are like headings on the left. So you just jump into the methods, for example. The methods have also been summarized for you. So if you want to look at the summary of the methods, the results have been summarized. So only the key results have been summarized here. So it only summarizes for you the key results. The conclusion has been summarized. Then the key concepts. So you can find some key concepts there. But also you can dig deeper and ask this paper a question. So you can easily say, or maybe like what is the highest value recorded, or you can, based on what you have seen in the main result, you can easily now pick and ask a question or summarize this article in 50 words, focusing on the main findings and methodology. I'm just thinking, you can ask it anything, it's AI based, so you can ask it anything and it will dig deep and give you what you want. So here you are talking to the paper, okay? So this is a summary in 50 words, see? The methodology has been summarized and then the main, so this is the methodology here summarized. Then the main has been summarized. So you can easily talk to the paper, but then the other thing is also this part that is called research comparison. Now here, Scholary is comparing, is showing you what other, how the work you are reading, how does it build on previous research? How does it confirm previous research? Where does it differ with previous research, okay? And many other things that are here, okay? You can also even go ahead and extract tables and figures. You can easily download these tables and figures. You can download and extract, and even the tables here, you can easily download tables, and the tables have also been explained down here. So these are summaries. But then I want to show you the premium version, because this the one I'm showing you, the free version only allows you to summarize 3 papers. If you want to get the premium version is $4.99 per month, and that allows you to summarize even 1,000 papers if you want. So if you pay $4.99, you will get that kind of, you will get, how do you say, you will get to summarize as many papers, upload and summarize as many papers as you want, without the limitation of being able only to summarize 3 papers per day. The free version, as I told you, can only allow you to summarize 3 papers per day. But the one that I'm showing you, the premium version, where you have to pay $4.99, this one allows you to summarize as many papers as you want. So let me just log in and show you. So once you log in, of course, you will have a library. So in the premium version, you can create your library and upload as many papers as you want. So you just click on create library. Then within the library, you can also now create folders within your library. So let's say this is our library that I created. Within that library you can create folders. So there's a folder here that is called nursing. So in this folder, I have 256 papers. Now, these 256 papers have now been converted into summary flashcards. They are now no longer papers. They are papers, yes, but then they have now been converted into what we call summary flashcards. So all these papers that I uploaded have now been summarized, okay? So let's say there's just one that maybe I want to read. I just want to use it as an example. So it's the same thing that I was showing you the other side. You see now, this is a paper. Yes, Godwin.
Yes, Doc. So with these summaries, you have can we just copy it directly, or we just have to still paraphrase it?
As I say, these summaries, Scholastic wants to reduce the falsification of information. So what it has done, it picks directly from this. So you will have to go back and again, synthesize and rephrase. Otherwise, if you pick it directly, because it has been picked directly from the document, it means that it will be plagiarized. So the work of Scholastic is just to summarize and give you, these are the key findings from the document. So you really find a way of, if there are 8 or like 5 key findings, how can you summarize and contextualize the key findings? But if you copy and paste directly, that will be plagiarized. So this is just an example of one of the papers that I'm now showing you. It's pretty much the same as what I showed you the other side. So this is a paper, the title is here. The details, some of the details are hidden, but all the details, of course, are here. They can be expanded. Then the structured, so you can change the structure of your summary the way you want using this enhanced version. So you can say, I want to read it as a scheme reader. The summary will be different. I want you to give me a summary as a researcher. The summary will be different depending on what you want. So let's say here, this is just a scheme reader where you have the the snapshot, we have the key findings. So these key findings, you pick them and you summarize and you rephrase, because if you put them as they are, then of course you are going to pick a lot. Most of the words are from the document. So you can use the enhanced feature to say how you want the summary to look like. Let's say I want to read it as a high school student, it will change the summary, depending on the level of complexity you want. Okay, I want to read the summary as an undergraduate student, for example. It will give you a different summary, but it's still the same summary. It's only that now it's structured differently. Okay, see, key findings are here. The black soldier fly research, then dig deeper. It goes ahead to give you all those things. So you can also, of course, add notes. You can, and then now the good thing that I want to show you here is somebody would ask, what happens if I am offline or if I'm not able to access the internet? What do I do? In that case, what you do is you can export all these summary flashcards into Word documents so that you can use them when you are not online. So let's say you have your papers like these ones here. So you can export all of them. You can just click, once you open the folder, you can click these summaries. Let's say we can just, what's happening? We can just click one and then select all. So let's say we will click this one and then we select all. And then once we select all, you click on export down here. Then you can say, I want to export as Word, I want to export as Excel, Markdown, PowerPoint, Zotero, all those things. So let's say we want to export as Word. You just click on export and then it will be exported as Word. But all of them will be exported as Word. So here we have selected all. We've selected all. We have exported and we are exporting as Word, and then you click download. It will download all the summaries. If you have 256 papers, you will get a summary of 256 papers in Word, so that if you want to use them when you are offline, you still can just go ahead and use them. I just want to show you based on what has already been downloaded here. Under downloads, here you should have a paper. So I have a paper here. I have literature synthesis. It's called literature synthesis now, once we download it. So I just want to show you what it looks like once you download and export. So this is literature synthesis. It means that all those papers have been summarized. So I have a summary of all the papers. So let's say this is the first paper, nitrogen recovery in a decoupled whatever. This is the first paper, snapshot, key findings, all results, what, summary, including references. The second paper is here, summarized key findings, everything. The third paper is here. The summary is there. Everything is there. The fourth paper, summary, just like that. Everything is summarized. All the papers, you see, I have 342 pages. So all those papers have been summarized. You see, the key findings have been summarized here for you. The main findings, all the papers. Then you go to the next paper again, go to the next paper again, go to the next paper, just like that. All your summaries are there. So if you want to get this version, you just subscribe. It's $4.99, and then it allows you to summarize as many papers as you want. I'm going to the second tool so that we can discuss all at once. I'm going to the second tool here. The second tool is called Jenny AI, and I just want to show you how to get to Jenny AI here. Just go to your browser and type Jenny AI. When you type Jenny AI, this is what you are going to see, okay? Here, I want you to click on Jenny here. So Nicole or Kevina, please provide the emails for the Jenny team and also the Scholary team. So if anybody has questions on, they can always reach out. So for Jenny AI, you can also try for free. You can easily just click and try for free and see what you can do with this. Now, Jenny is a writing tool. So Jenny will help you write research, but the difference between Jenny and those other tools like ChatGPT or DeepSeek or the others that people use for writing is Jenny puts you in the writing. It does not just generate text and then you wake up and you open your screen and find all the text generated and you don't know where they came from. Jenny will allow you to upload documents into your library, so it can write from your library strictly. You can restrict that I want you to write. As you write, you only cite from my library. Or you can allow it, of course, to get information from elsewhere. So let me just log in and show you. Okay, so once you log in, I don't want us to focus on this. This was just an example that I was using. So once you log in, this is what the page will look like. You just click on new so that we are creating a new document. So we will start writing by creating a new document. So we can give it a name, but for all this, with all these tools, before you start writing, you need to give it a command. So what do we want to write? Let's say you want to write so let's say that is what we are going to write about. Now, Jenny has either you can write without headings or you can write with standard headings. So let's put standard headings here and let's see what it looks like. So when you start writing, you want to see the first thing, it will create those standard headings for you. It will create a section for introduction, literature review, methodology, results, and discussion. Okay. So let's say we are writing the introduction. So as I was telling you that Jenny will put you in the writing, it means that it will be narrating a sentence and it will allow. So let's say we accept this. Once you accept, it will, after a few seconds, it will generate the next sentence. So it puts you, as you write, it helps you in the writing so that you are part of it. It's not like you will just, you will find just text showing up and you don't know where that text is coming from. Okay, so you accept that, another text is generated. So that is how it works with you through the journey. I want to stop the generation there and show you another thing. How then do we, because there's a library, you can upload documents into your library. Okay, you just click here and you upload everything you want into a library. Now, the other thing I want to show you here is under settings. When you click on settings, you can click on autocomplete, like what we are seeing here. So when you click on autocomplete, then Jenny will be generating and autocompleting sentences automatically for you. But if you toggle it off, then it allows you now to write by yourself, and maybe you will only need assistance when you face what we call the writer's block. So let's say you are writing and then it gets to a point where you cannot complete your sentences. Jenny will now help you suggest completion of your sentences. So you can toggle it on or you can toggle it off. Of course, the font style is also one of those things. You can also change the citation style under the settings. So you can decide, I want to cite in APA or Chicago or whatever. You can just change at the click of a button, everything will change. Just click a button and everything changes, okay? Then you can also instruct Jenny whether you allow it to cite from external sources or from the library. So if you want it to let's say you have downloaded certain papers and those are the papers that you trust and you want writings to come from, then you will restrict Jenny that I only want you to cite from my library. Don't cite from external sources. But if you want it to cite from external sources also, your library and external sources, then you'll toggle this on. So it will cite from external sources and from your library. Now, you can also decide to set up what you call citation recency. So how recent do you want your citations to be? You can say I only want papers that were published from 2023 onwards, or 2024, for example. Then Jenny will now, as it writes now, it will limit its citation to the recency that you had set. Now, the other thing that I also want to show you here is Jenny allows you to verify whether the citation that has been given is true or not. It's not those AI tools that will just write and you are not even sure whether the citation or the reference that is provided is real or is cooked. So if, let's say this is the citation, if you put your mouse on the citation, then you can easily view. When you put it here, you can easily go and view. You can click on view, and then you can easily view the document just to be sure that it is indeed, it has come from that document, okay? So it allows you to verify the sources rather than some that you can be working and you are not sure whether my antivirus is blocking some things. Okay, so it allows you to verify where that information has come from, for example. So it allows you to verify where that information has come from so that you are sure that it is not just something that has been cooked up. You can even edit here. And the other thing is also, let's say there's a sentence that has not been cited, like this one has not been cited. What you can do is highlight that sentence. See, highlight, and then when you highlight, it can Jenny will allow you to cite. So you can add citation. If you click on add citation, then it will allow you to search for citations. So you can get from your library, or you can just get generally from the internet. So you can just search accompanies. I don't know, the internet is a bit slow. So you can search for, you can even just go back to your library. You can just let's say we highlight this, then we click cite paper and cite. When you click on cite, it will be cited, okay? Or you can just say all. Then you pick a paper and cite. So let's say this one is the one we want. Just click, it will be cited. And then we can even view just to be sure that that citation has come from that paper. Now, the good thing is also, as you write, it also adds your citation down. You write, it adds and arranges. The other thing is about the AI chart. When you click on AI chart, there's a table, there's a window that is open down on the right, down on the bottom right. So here you can chart, you can tag from your library, you can tag certain papers from your library. So do you want to chat with the current document? You can chat with the current document by telling it, maybe refresh this or write and change the introduction. You can tell it, or you can tell it whatever you want. But if you want to chat with your library, you can, let's close all this and then just say we want to chat with the paper from your library. So you can tag a paper from your library. When you put the @ sign, you can easily, let's say we want to put that paper, then you add a second paper and you put there, and then you say compare, or you can say highlight knowledge gaps. In the field of in fish growth. Then it will do whatever you want. I'm just giving an example. So you can tag certain papers and say you want, or you could say, write for me an introduction based on this paper, or write an introduction based on this. So you see, it goes ahead now to write just whatever you've asked it to give you. Okay. So what knowledge gaps exist based on the 2 papers that I have cited, and it gives you even what is there. Okay. So all this you can do using Jenny, and of course now you can go ahead and do so many other things, like you can publish, you can export this as an Excel or as a LaTeX. Now Jenny is also designed also is friendly, so you can insert images, you can insert tables, you can insert codes or equations or mathematical whatever for engineering and math, whatever. So that is how then you can use Jenny. Mine is to encourage you to try it out, even just the free version. There's no problem trying it out, and then you see if it's something you like. You can always go ahead and subscribe. I want to go to the last thing before we now, so that we just have one general session where we are going to do the discussions. I think that is what I'll do. Yes, Jenny AI can do multiple citations. You can summarize as many as you want. I'll talk about plagiarism, and I think even before I talk about plagiarism, mine, I always told people, whichever tool you use, the tool has already saved you the energy of sitting down and typing. Do your diligence. Sit down with the words, sit down with the sentences, and read them word by word, so that you can make it yours. The document, the tool has already done whatever is generated. Whether you are afraid of plagiarism or you are afraid of anything else, sit down with that output and read it word by word, sentence by sentence. That is always my advice. Anyway, I'll go to the last part of my presentation so that we can come back to the general plenary. I'll share my screen again, and I'll go back to the presentation that I had. I think it is this one. Okay, now there's what we call visibility. People sometimes publish papers, and how visible are you on social media, on other platforms? Mine is just to challenge you. Once you publish papers, share these papers on LinkedIn, share the link on Facebook, share it anywhere, just for people to get to know that you did something. This is power of visibility. I published a paper. We published a certain paper on aquaculture, and I put it on LinkedIn, and we kept talking about it so much that somebody approached me with a consultancy, and I got a consultancy just because I posted on LinkedIn about my research. I've gotten quite a number. This one we are doing for Wild Fish right now, another one we are doing for MasterCard Foundation, just based on what I post about research. So when you post about a specific thing you are doing, I'm not saying that you give too much detail, but if it's about something, just have some hints here and there. Somebody could say, if they are maybe they are looking for someone to work with, they will say, okay, I've been looking through LinkedIn, and I see this guy talks a lot about fish. I see this guy talks about a lot about AI. I see this guy talks a lot about programming or about environmental science. So this is somebody I can reach out to. So try to be visible. Mine is just to bring your attention to some of these things. It's not about showing you how many platforms I am on, but I'm trying to tell you to be on these platforms, okay? Some of you do not even have Google Scholar accounts. Go and create a Google Scholar account. It is for free. Even if you've not published a paper, just go and create it. It will one day help you, encourage you to want to get a paper. I have an H index of 16. Okay, that's good. With a total of 260 something. And you see, we have one paper that was published in 2021 and already has 106 citations. These are things that make you happy as a researcher. So here, what I'm doing right now is just to challenge you that there is a lot beyond just publishing papers. There is a lot beyond just publishing papers. Put yourself out there, be on these platforms. That is how people get to also interact and see what you do. Have go and register on Web of Science, for example. Get a researcher ID. Go and register on Publons, because when you review papers, Publons will give you credit for your review work. Credit nowadays is not just for the publication, but also when you review work, you can also be credited for that as a reviewer. Okay, so I'm just pointing your attention to this. There's the Web of Science, where you can also get all this. If you review a paper, you can get a certificate as a reviewer certificate. There's the reviewer credit. If you are not on this platform, go and create an account on reviewer credits, because it gives you credit for any review work that you do, and it also gives you a certificate. Let me just show you what you can download from reviewer credit as when you review papers, and reviewer credits will give you a certificate that you can, if a job comes and they want somebody to be a reviewer, you can easily submit and say, I've been a reviewer, and there is a certificate that I can show that I have been a reviewer. I'm just going to show you once you create a profile on reviewer credit platform, you will get a very nice certificate that shows how many papers you have reviewed, in which years, all these things. So go and create a free account on this reviewer credit platform, for example. We'll show you what it looks like just in a rush, so that this is just to bring your attention to the fact that there's more out here than just the publications we talk about. So try and move with what is happening. Okay, don't just publish and stay there. So there's reviewer credits as a platform where you need to create an account. There is ORCID. This is your online CV. So go and create an account on ORCID as well if you are not there. ResearchGate if you are not there. Academia, Edu, social media. Talking about Facebook, talking about LinkedIn, create an account there. You should also create an About Me page. I have an About Me page where if somebody asks me, okay, Nicholas, can you send me a short bio? A short bio about you. There's something I want to submit, or I want to look at it. I just send them a link. This is just free. Go and create an About Me page. I'm going to show you what it looks like. The issues around preprints, maybe those are not. And now, guess who is looking at memes on their phones instead of submitting manuscripts? Okay, it's not me, but it's you. So this is a challenge that after this, please go and submit those manuscripts that are lying on your computer instead of spending time looking at memes. Okay, I also love memes. I use them even in my training. Thank you. I just want to do the last part that will take 5 minutes. I just want to show you the different platforms so that you see what they look like as we come to a stop. I will share my screen and show you all those platforms at once. So this is just to challenge you to be on some of these platforms. Some of us maybe do not know that these platforms are there. So let me just come here, share that. So I will start by showing you, are you seeing the Google Scholar page? Or which page? I just want to be sure that when I toggle around, it moves.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, so go and create an account on Google Scholar. Mine is just to challenge you. I'm not trying to show you, oh, you know, this is all. Oh, yeah, you know, I'm also showing you, of course, that I've been publishing papers. I have published how many? Let me just see. I now have the bragging rights. And I'm the one controlling the screen anyway. Oh, 63 by now. So the first paper was published in 2014. That's when I finished my master's, and I published my first paper in 2014. Yes. Yeah, 2014. So go and create an account on Google Scholar. Are you seeing are you seeing the page on LinkedIn? Go and create a LinkedIn page and do a little bit of some good description so that somebody knows what you are about and all those things. You never know who will be watching. And, you know, just so that people know what you are about. I have that, and then I post from time to time. I post quite a bit. I'll just show you a few of the posts that are here. Not all of them, just a few, so that you know that it's not bad to post some of these things. This is where you engage with people. So I post quite a bit on LinkedIn as well. Here, whoever wanted to employ me, I was just alerting them that I finally did my submission, and I also submitted a paper for publication. This is when I'm out with the student. This is when we are out sampling, for example, you know, going out to the field as a consultant. So many other things, you know, the research. This was my research where I was conducting my research, my aquaponics PhD data collection unit. I was doing it here, you know, just highlighting. This is the last day by day of my data collection. So I'm just showing you this so that you see that you don't have to restrict yourself to so many to these things. The other thing I also want to show you is about me. So you can create an about me page. I'll just go here. Sorry, about me. So you need to create an about me page, and on that about me page, somebody can easily just reach out to you. If somebody asks you, okay, is it possible that you can give me a short description of what you do, who you are, all those things, you can easily tell them, say no more. I'm sending you a link. Just go to that link and just pick as much information as you want. I don't know what you want, but then there's a link that has a summary of who I am, what I do, and everything else that you need to know. So go and create an about me page. It's free. I have mine created here. So there's a short, there's a photo of me training, and then there's a short a video introducing some things. Then there's a description of mine. All this is a description, how you can contact me, how you can book a training session or a mentorship session with me. All that is there. That is about me page. The other thing that I also want to show you is ORCID. If you don't have an ORCID account, go and create an ORCID account. These are free things. That's why I'm showing you that this is mine, is to challenge you to know that there is more to life than just publishing papers. Okay. Here is, I'm just going to sign in so that you see what it looks like for those who, you know, sometimes we train people and assume that everybody knows about ORCID, everybody knows about these things. This is your online, how do we call it? Online CV. You see now, it talks about everything. A little bit about my biography, my employment history. It gives about education and qualification, the professional activities. All the papers that I have published are also listed here, all of them, and somebody can access them. The good thing with ORCID is ORCID disambiguates you as a researcher. So sometimes there are papers where you are published with your 3 names, some of them you published with your 1 name. But if you have an ORCID, it brings all those into one identity. So if somebody says that he's also called Nicholas Outa and they have published a paper, the journal will just say, send us the ORCID ID so that we are sure which Outa we are talking about. And most of these journals these days will ask you, when you are trying to submit a paper, they will ask you for your ORCID ID. make sure you register for an OKID ID and don't say that you were not told. Now you don't have an excuse. I'm now taking you to reviewer credits as we finish, so that you also see what reviewer credits looks like. So go and create an account on reviewer credits. So every time you review a paper, you register it there, and it gets credited. So you have a credit for the review work that you do, not just only for publication. So I'll just log in so that you see what my profile looks like. I've not updated it for some time, but just for the purposes of learning, so that you appreciate that these platforms are here and you can take advantage of them. Most of us don't go beyond publication, and sometimes we have scholars we are also guiding that there is a lot out here in the field of research. So I don't know why it's taking too long. It could be my internet is a bit slow. Let it load, let it load, let it load. Okay, I will log in using, I will log in through OKID. It's linked to, OKID now links to most of these things. So I'm just trying to log in through OKID. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So I will stop sharing here, and then we will all have a plenary, just some few minutes of plenary. Yes, I'm.
Thank you very much, Doug. In fact, you have done your mark job for today. And I really have to commend you for that. So Doug, my question is for someone who has not published before, can the person register of the various websites you mentioned, like is it OCID, reviewer credits, and then Google Scholar and the others?
There is no publication is not a requirement to register on any of these platforms. So just register even as you wait to publish.
All right, thanks.
Yes, go. Who else? Moses?
Thank you so much, Nicholas. This has been a great training these last 2 days, and I can appreciate each and everything. I really thank you for that. Now, my question is more about when it comes to the use of these different tools that you've shared with us, especially when it comes to, for example, you mentioned something about how you are now also learning. I'm also someone who's very curious with learning how to use different graphics and that. And you would promise that you would probably share with us something about how you can probably generate nice graphics, like for example, for slides. Personally, I tend to use the slides so much for also making presentations, and sometimes it's tricky. Recently, I've been using Copilot, but I noticed that for you, in your case, you were using, I think it is called Napkin or something like that. I mean, if you would give maybe some guidance on how we can use some of these platforms to generate very nice graphics and maybe presentations as well, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, sometimes, and especially for this one, I can do at a private level, because then, you know, TCC partners with the tools that I have shown are the ones that TCC partners with. So the one I talked about yesterday. But then if I want to do that in this demonstrate how to use that specific tool in this, and this is not part of what TCC has partnered with, then I think I shall have breached something. But then I can guide you through how that platform works. It's a very simple platform, so I can you can reach out. Just my email will be shared. I can easily share the link, and then you can check out. It's a very simple tool to use.
Thank you.
Yes, the recordings will be shared. The materials will also be shared. We will share all the materials, and we'll also share the recordings. I think we have also been sitting for quite some time. I'm not really seeing like there is a lot of, maybe if there's any feedback, it might not really, even if it's just about what else can we do next time when we are training, all those things, because we are now closing in the next few minutes. So. Yes, Justin.
Thank you so much. I just want to ask a little bit about the AI generated material. If I happen to get AI generated material, can I just copy and paste in my main document and do the editings or the paraphrasings and things like that, and it's acceptable, or it remains plagiarism? Thank you.
Mine is, we know as a researcher, you know what plagiarism is. Plagiarism is when you pick someone's work and purport that it is yours without giving, without citing or without giving them credit. So if Jenny AI, for example, generates, or Scholary generates some text for you, if you copy and paste it somewhere and rephrase, make sure you cite the paper from where it came. But you cannot also just take it word by word. You go and rephrase it and make it in a way that is a bit more contextualized, and then that is what it looks like. So mine is, again, whatever has been generated, make sure you read word by word and contextualize. Even if you are not worried about plagiarism, just worry about the content so that you are sure that it's factual, because you can't be 100% sure that whatever is generated by AI is right. It is true. So do the fact checking. But the short answer is you can copy and paste it there, paraphrase and rephrase and make it yours. But at the end of the day, you have to cite where it came from. Otherwise, you.
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Nicholas, for this capacity and insightful training. Mine is when you use AI in scientific writing, do you declare that you used AI? Is it like on ethical reasons? Do you declare that you used AI in conducting such research? And secondly, I'm sorry to also draw you back to the first session. You told us not to be afraid of comparing, like in our results. So let's assume that I'm conducting a research in Nigeria, and from my results, I'm writing discussion. And now, is it right for me to compare the results I got here with another country, and also do a kind of contradict that result with a research maybe in the same topic area that was conducted in another country? Or should it be particularly the one that was conducted in my country? Thank you. And these are my two questions.
Yeah, if you contradict, if you find that there is literature that is contradicting what you have found, it's good to point it out. But then when you point it out, point to the reason why you think that there is that difference. So you would say, okay, there are researchers who did the same research in Tanzania, for example, but got different results because of the context under which they were working, the methodology they used, their target population, for example. So it's okay to point if you have the disagreeing results from the same country or from a different country. It's okay, as long as you explain why you think those differences are arising. About AI, there's something that we say that AI is like that beautiful girl you flirt with, but most people don't want to come out in the open and say that this is the girl I'm having an affair with. So they give you some very good feeling and they give you very nice services, but then very few people will come out and say this is the girl I've been flirting with and playing around with behind the scenes. So we just see you happy, we just see you performing, we just see you doing great things, but we sometimes don't know who is helping you, because you are flirting with this beautiful girl, but you don't want us to see this beautiful girl. So there are universities that will allow, there are universities I know that allow their researchers to write using AI, but they declare to what extent have they used AI and on what specific sections of their write-up have they used AI. There are universities and even there are journals that will tell you it's okay to use AI, but you need to declare to what extent did AI help you and in what specific sections. That's okay. But not so many people are coming out to declare that they have used AI. You just find they have generated some very nice things and they don't say and they don't expressly declare that they have used AI. So to declare or not to declare depends on the institution you are working with, the journal you are talking about, or it depends on you as a person. But ideally, it's a good thing to declare. I think that's the bottom line, so that somebody knows that if I find maybe a bit of a contradiction, then maybe this person did not go through this AI-generated content. But again, as I finish, the bottom line is sit down with any AI-generated material, read word by word, sentence by sentence, just to be sure. Yes, Titus.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nicholas, for really such a wonderful, insightful presentation. Yeah, I basically also wanted to pick an understanding on how do I acknowledge AI in my text during during my research writing, because you talked about it and just like that, maybe you could pick an article, then I find it very interesting, then I'm able to cite and generate a reference as well. So in this case, for the case of the AI, how do I go about it? Other than just us maybe declaring that part of the work that I've presented, it has been as a result of contribution from AI. Thank you.
Most journals will allow you to have a specific part towards the end of the paper where you just declare that I used AI to write the background of the information, and like 20% of the background was written using AI. So you don't have to cite, like when you're writing, you cite AI. No, you declare at the end of the writing that 20% of this, 10% of the introduction or 20% of the discussion has been written using AI, or AI generated or AI assisted. So you really need to say, did AI generate or did AI help you write? So I will go back to Kevina. Please, have you provided the email addresses to Jenny AI team? Because there are people who are interested, and I also, as I said, I have also called upon you. Go and try it out. I have shown you how it puts you into the writing. It's not like you put their text and then you close your eyes and everything is written. It takes you through the writing process. Somebody wants my LinkedIn account. My LinkedIn account is just go and see. It's only one person there by this name. So And also the same name on Facebook as well. I also very active on Facebook. We are active on on TikTok as TCC as the Simple Academic. So there being no more questions, go and try out the tools. Give us any feedback. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the Gen AI team. You can also reach out to TCC Africa. My email address is also, you can even reach out to me. Why not? If there's something that you feel you need to clarifications on that might not have been talked about here, there is no problem. But I also know we will be interacting in our WhatsApp communities. I know most of you are not there. You will be included there. So please go ahead and just be there.
If I may ask, do we have a WhatsApp group like text I saw on the chat?
Sorry, Joel, we didn't get that. It was a bit shaky.
I'm asking, is there a WhatsApp group? I saw a chat somewhere leaning towards maybe having a WhatsApp group or something. I just wanted to confirm whether
We have
there
a
was
WhatsApp
such a group.
community. Yeah, it
Yes.
has been shared again. There are two groups.
Yes.
So it has been shared again, the WhatsApp community links.
Okay. At the chat.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I can see. Many thanks.
So I will allow Kevina or Nicole, who is there, to close this meeting. Hello, Kevina or Nicole, please, you can give final guidance, or Nicholas, so that we close this.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we conclude this two-day training on scholarly communication, I would like to thank each one of you for your participation. Your thoughtful contribution has made the session not only insightful, but truly enriching. So a word of appreciation goes to our facilitator, Dr. Nicholas Outa, for guiding the discussion and sharing practical knowledge that we are confident will have a lasting impact on our research practices. We hope you've been empowered to write a high-quality academic research paper. So let's continue supporting one another as we endeavor to improve our research output and also increase our visibility. So as we promise, we'll be able to share notes and recordings by close of business tomorrow. I will also send you the certificates for those who were able to attend the two-day sessions. And as already said, we also encourage you to join our WhatsApp group so that we can continue with engaging with one another. Otherwise, we are so much grateful for having found time to attend this kind of training. Thank you. So I'll allow you 2 minutes. Maybe you can take the links as we conclude the meeting.